Chapter 5198. The Hohu. Crazy Yang panted heavily. After his eyes returned to normal, there was a bunch of memories in his mind, which instantly turned in his mind. From the memory fragment, he was sweating behind him. Unexpectedly, I met such a powerful existence and survived. He couldn't believe it. Crazy Yang, who was a little weak in his whole body, tried to sense the surroundings, and he took a sigh of relief after discovering that the existence had left, and then immediately rushed out of the mountain range, turned around, and changed 7 or 8 places in a row. Dropped his heels on a quiet hill. Although Jian Wushuang said that he had let him go, he was still afraid that Jian Wushuang would suddenly repent, and finally survived. It is not clear that he did not want to die. That existence can be a superpower that can be controlled, and you don't need to do it yourself to kill him. If you directly order him, he will destroy his origin. This kind of legendary method was met by him today, and he was lucky to survive. After entering a cave, it took a long time for him to be relieved, and then he remembered that this existence had gone to Eclosion Continent, and quickly notified several brothers in Eclosion Continent. "Brother, be careful of this person." After starting from the mountain range, Jian Wushuang did not move fast all the way, and it took most of a day to move out of the mountain range. He didn't even meet a living person along the way, and he didn't know whether it was his bad luck or the other people's luck. Although there is no madness on the feathered continent in the mountains, there are often a lot of fights. Especially in the periphery of the mountains, a checkpoint has now been set up. This fellow Taoist, I'm going to the Eclosion Continent. On a dry riverbed outside the mountains, there stood a Dayan immortal who looked like a scholar, with a gentle aura and an extraordinary conversation. If it is outside, Jian Wushuang really wants to sit down and discuss the truth with the other party. But now this is a primordial star. After more than 6 years of fighting, none of the survivors is easy to talk. Even people like Hui Qing were called demon monks, not to mention the white-faced scholar in front of them. Others may not be able to see through, but with Jian Wushuang's thought power, the opponent has a strong resentment and evil aura. Both auras are suppressed by the white-faced scholar in his heart. If other people are extreme Dayan immortals, it would be ugly. Out of the breath hidden in his body. Just walking out of the mountains and meeting this kind of person, Jian Wushuang didn't feel anxious, wanting to see what tricks the other party was playing. Exactly. Jian Wushuang clasped his fists slightly. The breath he exudes gives people the feeling that it is at the top of rank 9, and this strength can be regarded as the basic combat power in the Eclosion Continent. It's great. In the next Injio, I just left the mountains and want to go to the Eclosion Continent. Taoists can go with each other, and they can also walk together on the road. But I heard that there are many strong people mixing in the Eclosion Continent. If they don't go down, they will form a team outside the mountains to intercept the practitioners heading to the Eclosion Continent. Ren Yinjia's words are perfect. It shows that he left the mountains for the first time without the scorching Dayan immortals on the feathering continent. It also metaphorically threatens Jian Wushuang. There are people blocking the road. It is best to keep company together, otherwise. If you go to the Eclosion Continent alone, you don't die too much. This trick to deceive a little novice monk like Hui Qing is okay. To deceive Jian Wushuang is a bit of pediatrics. He really thinks he is a fledgling and stinky hairy boy. They are all Dayan immortals. How can there be so many fools? But thinking of the 2 fairy queens in the Great Dream Realm, Jian Wushuang didn't dare to be sure. The original universe was so big, there might be many fools. Oh, there is such a thing. Jian Wushuang's expression leaked a hint of surprise, and his eyes were a little timid. Give Ren Yinjio an illusion, and Jian Wushuang's aura is well grasped at this time. He wants to hide it, but also leaks, not to mention the peak Dayan, even the top Dayan. You can see that he is revealing strength. Next, the 2 of them began to discuss the Eclosion Continent with each sentence. Ren Yinjio was overjoyed and cried secretly that he had caught a fish, and began to fencing Wushuang's name. Brother Ren, it's true that he has just entered the top 100,000 in the ranking below. This time I went to the feathering continent to fight for a chance. After all, the opportunity is rare. Jian Wushuang said truthfully. What he said was indeed nothing wrong. This time he went to Yuhua continent to fight for it and get a good chance. By the way, he stepped on the limelight of those Tao monarchs. The top 100,000 did not lie to him. He is now ranked more than 100, and he is indeed in the top 100,000. By the time it was Ren Yinjia's name, he had flipped through the rankings for a long time, and it was really up to the end, with a total of 10,000 records. This made Jian Wushuang a little surprised. Are these people fishing now looking for someone with a clean foundation? Still, this Ren Yinjio is fake. Through the conversation, it was learned that Ren Yinjio had recruited a few like-minded Dayan immortals, and there were still a few short of them. They were all scattered around to recruit Dayan immortals from the mountains. According to what he said, the mountain range was blocked by a powerful force on the Eclosion continent a month ago. It is fine to go out, but it is really impossible to go in without any strength. Going out with weakness is a death, and it is difficult to live. Most people who want to go in are injured or have given up. The first 10,000 have no hope at all. It is cheaper to stay in Yuhua continent. It is better to leave early. However, there are more people going in than going out. It seems that the current battle on the emerging continent has changed significantly. After all, the quota is only 10,000 except for the top 1,000 peak powers. There are still 9,000 places. After these years of screening, the emerging continent has been able to persist in these years, and the lowest is the 9-rank consummation. These Dayan immortals are all hugged together. Thousands of people form a battle formation. Even if the extreme Dayan immortal encounters it, it will have a headache. Although they have the strength to protect themselves, it is also very troublesome to kill others. After all, it is a battle formation. Once they are inconvenient to move, they can't chase and kill other Dayan immortals. Among these people, a well-known strong man came up with a wonderful plan, that is, no more than 1,000 people in each battle formation, and hundreds of battle formations are formed. He will fight by himself, and finally leave 1,000 people behind. Can enter the top 10,000. This person is the senior master of the years, who once entered the top 1,000 with the strength of the Nineth rank Dayan immortal. Now his ranking is not low. If his battle formation can persist to the end, maybe he can really enter the top 1,000. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but admired the leader of the years. He would be blinded if he didn't go to raise Gu. I didn't expect Brother Ren to know so much about the various anecdotes on the Yuhua continent, and he was taught under him. Jian Wushuang was indeed the first time he heard of it. When he asked Crazy Yang, he mainly asked those top powerhouses. I have cared about those ordinary 9th turn consummation. Chapter 5199. You are polite, fellow Taoists. These rumors were also told to me by a fellow Taoist in the team who had been to Yuhua continent. Not only was the 9 ranks consummation, but in the earliest days, the 1,000,009 ranks Dayan immortal did the same. Unfortunately, they all died in the end. The white-faced scholar's voice revealed regret. They are still promising. Those rank 9 Dayan immortals are miserable. They are almost dead, and most of the rest are hiding in the mountains. Jian Wushuang also nodded. The Nineth rank Dayan immortal is indeed the worst group of people. Millions of people are slaughtered in the Emerald continent, and they can't fight the battle formation formed by the Nineth rank successfully. In the end, they can only hold hate. After the two of them regretted for a while, Ren Yinjio felt that it was almost done, so he said, Brother Wushuang, the people to be assembled are almost the same, we should also set off. Before they knew it, the two of them had chatted for a few hours. Jian Wushuang's thought power moved, and at the moment he sensed that several other powerful men were rushing here. It seemed that their group had really summoned a few Dayan immortals who had just come out of the mountain range. After just a few breaths, 7 or 8 top Dayan immortals appeared directly in front of them. Brother Ren, you have recruited someone for such a long time here? Is your strength so weak? Just when he appeared, a top-level great Yenxian with strong limbs glanced at Jian Wushuang with an unkind look, and said with disdain, The others are okay, they just smiled awkwardly. Ren Yinjia's complexion changed, and he forbeared his anger, and said, Brother Kuei Shan, this fellow Taoist also has a top level of strength, so there is no need to say it's so bad. At this moment, he has the heart to kill Kuei Shan. This Kuei Shan was recruited by him the day before, and it was the first time he went to the Feathering Continent. However, his strength was extraordinary, and he was also the top of the top powerhouses. It is not good to be negligent. After all, it is the team of Renin Group 9. Kuei Shan finally just snorted, taunting. Well, since Brother Ren hired him personally, if he drags his feet, you can give it to him too. Jian Wushuang frowned and his face was angry, but in his heart he secretly said that this person should be not in the same group as Ren Ingio, and he didn't know that it was the stunned green that appeared, and he didn't know if he was sold. Friends of Taoism should not be blamed. Brother Kuei Shan's temper is like this. Ren Ingio laughed awkwardly, and immediately changed the subject and talked about the route to Yuhua Continent. Dear friends, the Yuhua Continent is at most 3 hours away from here, but this road will pass through many dry riverbeds and dry lakes. In those places, there are many hidden powerhouses who specialize in intercepting the lonely dying immortals. Or a weak team. Didn't you talk about this a long time ago? Let's talk about how to go. Kuei Shan said impatiently. His strength is not weak. He also dominates one side in the mountains, and his personal combat power can be ranked in the top 10,000 of this primitive star. The reason why he chose to team up to Feather Continent this time is because there are several strong players in the team. He thought holding his thigh, Ren Ingio recruited Jian Wushuang, an ordinary top-level Dayan immortal, whose strength was much weaker than them. Everyone wants to recruit some powerful teammates. He doesn't know what Ren Ingio is thinking. Especially the strong recruits from the other strong players in the team are also average, not much different from his strength, only he recruited a powerful Dayan immortal. This is also the reason why he dared to mock Jian Wushuang in front of Ren Ingio. Okay. Actually, I have already planned the route we just need. The route set by Ren Ingio was to bypass the periphery of the western mountain range. They entered the Eclosion Continent from the north. Because of Huiqing, the western part is now in chaos, and many peak Dayan immortals have taken refuge, and the western periphery is very chaotic. After everyone felt that it was okay, they nodded their heads and left without dragging their feet, and began to cautiously bypass the west and enter the outer periphery of the southern continent. Passing through countless dry riverbeds and dry lakes, there are broken battlefields that can be seen everywhere on the earth. The primordial star is big or small. The closer you are to the feathered continent, the bigger the battlefield below. After all, it is millions of big. The place where Yanxian fights. Jian Wushuang was also observing these people along the way. A group of 8, 3 of them had the same breath as Ren Yinjius, and the remaining 4, except him, were the strongest among the top Dayan immortals. The strongest, Black the Old Man in Robes, has the strength comparable to Luo Hao. The Kuei Shan who had previously spoken badly followed the black-robed old man closely, and he didn't do much flattering along the way. Along the way, Ren Ingio did not fail to tout their plan to go to the Eclosion Continent. What to say, I went to the Eclosion Continent, strengthened the team, established a top-level Dayan immortal team with about 20 people, and arranged a formation that could kill the peak Dayan immortal. Except for the old man in black robes, everyone else was very yearning for these words. I just don't know if they can enter the Eclosion Continent alive. Although the strength of these people could not threaten him at all, Jian Wushuang got used to it carefully, and always pretended to be himself. His thought power covered 100,000 miles around him, and he was always on guard. Ren Ingio dared to play this way on Primordial Star, and the forces behind him were absolutely extraordinary. He himself said that the entire western continent was messed up, and the peak Dayan immortal started to flee. In case there is a pinnacle Dayan immortal behind him, he really has to be careful. As long as he is not at the peak, then there is no threat to him. Now he has completely mastered the 6th level of Ultimate Sword Doctrine. When dealing with the top-level Dayan immortal, there is no need for a phantom sword test. Only the Heart Sword world can deal with the average top-level swordsman. Yanxian. The Heart Sword trial has the power of the peak Dayan immortal, but he doesn't need to use a sledgehammer against the top Dayan immortal. It's just that there has been a lack of a handy supreme sword. Although Kam has obtained a lot of innate treasures from the Emperor Malong, it does not have an innate treasure sword, only a top-quality treasure with a good appearance. In the past few years, after perfecting the benefits of the breakthrough that he has received, his whole cards have also accumulated, and he will not be as stretched as before. and temporarily break through to bet his life. Now there is the Eye of the Beast God with the trump card, which can deal with the Peak Dian Immortal, and the Universe can deal with the Limit Dian Immortal, and the Phantom Sword can even threaten the Ultimate Dian Immortal. In addition, although his strongest, absolute immortal formation is still a little behind Huiqing, he is only rank 6 now. Looking at the entire universe, looking at the entire long river of time and space, it is difficult to find a rank 6 Dian Immortal who can kill the pinnacle and rival the limit. Jian Wushuang was very satisfied with his own strength, step by step, climbing up step by step. Until reaching the peak, Hadao and Emperor are his goals, but not his end. On the road of practice, the end is the end of life. As long as you don't die, you will keep going. Chapter 5200. Primitive Star feathered the western part of the mainland. In a riverbed separated from the western mainland, several powerful Dian Immortals were sitting cross-legged in the mud under the riverbed. Primitive stars have a very high degree of toughness, and at most they will enter the depths of about 10,000 battles underground. Because of the density, they lurked in the underground 10,000 battles, almost isolating the breath from all over the body. Even the top Dian Immortal would not be able to find them when they passed by, and of course he couldn't help anyone else. In the dark and quiet mud, a burly giant slowly opened his eyes. Lao Jiao is coming soon, get ready to act. The burly man whispered secretly. People like them have been waiting here for several days, just for this moment. Thanks, Tusk, if I go well this time, I will have 1,000,000 records. The triangular-eyed old man was pleasantly surprised. They couldn't mix in the western mainland, and they came to the outer riverbed to intercept and kill those Dian Immortals who were alone. But this kind of life is not long, the scope is so wide, and after bad luck, they will not meet a single person in a year. And there are also great risks. After a few of them put together, they let old Jiao replace a 9-turned consummation Dian Immortal, Ren Jiao, who was placed under house arrest by them. Borrowing this Xiaobai's identity, he went to the mountains near the mountains to cheat some Dian Immortals who had never been to the Yuhua continent. Not to mention, this method is really effective. They used to take a desperate risk for a year without getting much record. Now they have intercepted and killed Dian Immortals several times in just a few months. These Dian Immortals, who have never been to the Feathering Continent, have few records on their bodies, but they can't stand up much. Moreover, it is very safe, and the powerful Ren Jiao will not bring it. Attention, people are coming. The burly man said hello, and everyone broke out. Jian Wushuang and the others hadn't reacted at all, and a towering black dragon rushed out to their front door. No, retreat quickly. Ren Jiao was delighted, and on the surface he really called everyone to step back. But after this retreat, it was discovered that a black dragon at the back was even more fierce. Ren Jiao and the other 3 black-robed men instantly changed their body shapes and hurriedly avoided. Jian Wushuang and the others are quite miserable. In order to conceal their strength, Jian Wushuang straightened up and faced the black dragon rushing forward. This dragon has the destructive power of the top Dian Immortal, but for Jian Wushuang, it is only same as Tickle. Now he has the innate treasure armor. The moment the black dragon appeared, the pitch-black war beast armor had covered his entire body. After tens of thousands of levels of weakening, Jian Wushuang would eventually endure the attack like an ant bite. For the remaining few people, the black-robed old man was indeed about the same as he expected. He was very powerful. He slapped the black dragon with one palm. His figure flashed and escaped the attack from the rear. He was in a state of danger and showed the demeanor of a strong man. Kuei Shan's strength is average in the top class. Although he was a little embarrassed when facing the black dragon, fortunately, the black-robe old man defeated the front black dragon, and he barely avoided the attack from the rear, and his body quickly approached the black-robe old man. Take a breath. The last person had bad luck, and was directly torn to pieces by the black dragon, and fell on the spot. A group of 8 people, 4 of them are their own, and the remaining 4, according to their original plan, killed at least 2 in this attack, and then Ren Jiao and the others sneaked out the remaining 2. Only 1 person died now, and a powerful black-robed old man suddenly appeared, making their plan had to change. Put. The intercepted people appeared, Jian Wushuang and others also stood together in a group. Ren Yinjia's expression changed, he turned his head and glanced at the people behind him, then looked at the group of intercepted people, wanting to transmit sound, but so many people stared at him and did not dare to transmit sound to remind him. Ren Yinjio, what road did you take? Kuei Shan complained, if you go around like this all the way, you can hit others in the face. Jian Wushuang frowned and snorted immediately, I'm so afraid of death. If you come to the emerging continent, if you want to be safe, you can hide in the mountains and don't leave it ashamed. After finishing speaking, the figure still leaned against Ren Yinjio. This Kuei Shan is now the black-robe old man on the list, and he dared to directly question Ren Yinjio face to face. However, he had a good vision. If he was to please Ren Yinjio from the beginning, he wouldn't know how he died until he died. Just now Jian Wushuang was able to resist a black dragon. Kuei Shan also found Jian Wushuang's strength is extraordinary, not weaker than him. Now he is in the same boat, and now it is not the time to quarrel. His face sank and he stood in the black-robe old man. Don't say anything behind me. As the leader of the team, Ren Yinjio had to come out and say a few words. There was no way. Now a strong man who exceeded their expectations suddenly appeared in the team, breaking their plan and having to continue the show. If they are just one person, they don't need to be like this. The black-robed old man is more powerful than them. If it's just one person, so many of them besieged, they may eventually be injured, but they will also kill the other party. But now that Jian Wushuang and Kuei Shan are still alive, the strength of these two people is not weak. At this time, they turned their faces, and these three people held a group. If they wanted to besiege, they would have to pay a few people to win each other. Brother Kuei Shan, I was really abrupt this time, but there will always be various risks when I come out to do things. Besides, isn't it just for us to come to Yuhua mainland? Ren Yinjio said with a trembling face, WBW. Novel. The three Dayan immortals who were with him also stood up at this time to comfort them together. All the people have stabilized the situation, so that they will not wait for the interception to take action, and they will fight themselves. Forget it, let's solve the immediate problem first. The strongest black-robed old man stared gloomily at the few Dayan immortals who had come to intercept them, especially when he saw the burly man. There was a trace of fear. He can feel that the opponent's strength is not weak, and he has reached the threshold of the peak great immortal. Compared with his strength, he is not much different. He is also at the peak level, but looking at the opponent's posture, he is obviously prepared. He also has to be careful of traitors appearing in the team. Ren Yinjio did not dare to look at the black-robed old man. After all, his strength was not as good as that. It was too easy for people of the level like the black-robed old man to kill him. There are also distinct levels among the top Dayan immortals, and they are at most the top Dayan immortal. Zhong is a bit stronger than ordinary ones, but against those who are about to reach the peak, there is a huge gap in strength. Everyone, you also took the money to buy the road. Can you let us go? It's the first time I have left the mountain. I don't have much record. Ren Yinjio opened his mouth and became soft. At this time, it is too obvious that he advocates fighting again. He can only make things difficult for the other party. How can he rush to fight with the other party? As for the money to buy the road, it was naturally the hapless Dayan immortal. One of the lighting was killed. He didn't know how he died, so he called Jian Wushuang secretly. It was a pity. To download the latest TXT ebook of this book, please click Mobile Phone Reading of this book, Published Book Reviews. In order to facilitate the next reading, you can click on the favorites below to record the reading record of this time, Chapter 5200 Interception, and you can see it next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 5201. That is a strong man with a complete top-level source avenue. Just like that, the evil aura in the heart spread unconsciously. He hasn't paid attention to the achievements of these people yet, but this place is so barren. If all of these people's origin avenues are swallowed, it would be wonderful. He just got up with this thought, but he didn't know that it made the other strong players in the team smell a dangerous aura. As a powerhouse with a peak level, The old man in black robes had so deep thoughts that Jian Wushuang could see it. He also saw that he was inseparable. At this time, he also felt that the team was filled with murderous aura. The burly man tilted his head, first glanced at the old man in black robe, and then calmly said, "Do it." The roar of the giant dragon shook the sky and the earth, instantly hovering over the riverbed, its size covering the sky and the sun. Reningio was also taken aback by this scene, and hurriedly shouted, "Everyone gather together." The more people are scattered, the more difficult it is for him to do it. Only when everyone gathers together can they have a chance to attack again. Reningio, I think there is something wrong with the situation. The number of the other party is not much different from ours. If the sneak attack fails, you dare to fight with us. I am afraid there is something strange. The black-robe old man's eyes are cold, but his figure is always backing away. In other words, it is the old rivers and lakes. He has survived for hundreds of millions of years. At this time, he can see that he has been tricked by these rascals. Kuei Shan had been following the old man in black robes. At this time, he also retreated, and the two stood together. Now only Jian Wushuang was left with Reningio and the others. "Old Nine, let's do it." Seeing that the matter was revealed, the burly man confessed directly and rushed to the black-robe old man. In their opinion, this time it was a hard bone, but just as Reningio said, he always has to pay back when he comes out, although the bones are hard to gnaw, but there is a lot of meat. According to intelligence, the black-robed old man is named Chimang, the top 10,000 strong man, and he has a record of millions of dollars. If you gnaw this bone, he can divide at least half of the record. Among these people, he is the strongest, and he must have the most effort. Naturally, he will get the most record, and this time he won't necessarily get one or two. Personally, he will have a good receipt by then. The three of you killed him, I will help Big Brother deal with Chimang, do it quickly. Reningio completely leaked his nature at this time, and his whole person was as gloomy as his name. As soon as the voice fell, without even looking at Jian Wushuang, he broke through the air and left. Although Chimang is strong, he has the most records on his body. He is just a fly meat, no one is watching, staying three to deal with it together. He has already given enough face. Kill! The remaining three powerhouses didn't talk nonsense, and killed them directly. You tore your face so soon? Jian Wushuang felt meaningless. He wanted to see how they were going to play. He didn't expect that this burly man would be too stupid. In his opinion, at least it is necessary to act like a little bit. It is not a rush to do it after everyone trusts each other. If you want to be exposed at this time, it seems that you are ready for a big battle. With the power of thought spreading, Jian Wushuang didn't give these people the opportunity to do anything. He originally planned to do it on Reningio first, but he didn't expect that he would run away first. Mind power is like tiny worms, crawling into their minds, and depriving them of their original power. The three of them have distorted faces and their bodies can't move a bit. The armor on Jian Wushuang concealed his body, leaking his original appearance, and slowly walked out of the three of them. Now these three people are no longer humans. After the source of power is drained, even the gravity of the original star he couldn't bear it, and he fell directly from the air. Fortunately, the divine body was still stronger, leaving a whole corpse, but his face had completely fallen off. This is caused by endless pain that cannot be stopped. Solving these three people easily, Jian Wushuang also obtained tens of millions of records and 3 ray of origin power. Does the side effects appear so quickly? The evil aura on Jian Wushuang's body leaked unconsciously, and he couldn't suppress it even if he wanted to suppress it. If he kept swallowing it, he didn't know if he would be swallowed by this evil aura. This feeling has only appeared suddenly after entering the temple of Qishan. He swallowed the emperor's ruin in the outside world without any side effects. Is it because he swallowed the origin of living people? Jian Wushuang didn't care about this either, because his origin was growing, and as long as the growth rate of the origin exceeded the growth rate of the evil aura, he would be able to suppress it in his body forever. After killing these three in an instant, Jian Wushuang's figure concealed in the void, vomiting cross-legged, and quickly cannibalized the 3 strands of origin power that had just been swallowed. On Qi Mang's side, it was extremely tragic. One person resisted the siege of the 9 people. Kuei Shan could only contain one person, Ren Yinjiao, and it seemed that he was not an opponent. "You stinky boys, dare to calculate." The red Mang roared, and a red halo burst out from his body. His strength skyrocketed to the true peak of Dian Immortal's strength. Qi Wei. A huge moon ring appeared behind him, directly suppressing the black dragon. Without the restraint of the burly man, the rest of the few who were close to strength were directly shaken out for tens of thousands of miles, vomiting blood and seriously injured one after another. "Reningio, you hurt me." The burly man was suppressed and unable to move. The gap between the threshold and the door was still too large. His Dao is also general, only the 3rd rank origin. It's okay to bully some ordinary top-level Dian Immortals. If you really meet those 2nd rank origin top-level Dian Immortals, others can burst out peak combat power, but he can only wait to die. Reningio saw that his eldest brother was no longer good, and he had no intention of fighting again. "Want to go?" Kuei Shan also noticed the form of the field and immediately yelled, and he did not hesitate to burn the source, and he stopped Reningio. "Senior Chimang, don't worry, I can't escape with this despicable villain, all will have to die." Kuei Shan laughed. He has been on the road to please Chimang this time, and it is considered to have confiscated the goods, waiting for Chimang to kill. Reningio will also get a fortune. Reningio didn't pay attention to Kuei Shan's obstruction, and hurriedly shouted at Chimang, "Quick! Kill them, be careful of Jian Wushuang, this person has a problem." As soon as Ren Yinjia's words fell, Jian Wushuang appeared behind him. "Am I that scary?" The corners of Ren Yinjia's mouth were blood flowing. He lowered his head and glanced at the palm that passed through his chest, then turned to look at Jian Wushuang behind him, his eyes rounded, and finally, in the unwilling eyes, his body collapsed and the source was pulled away from him. Body of. It's actually increased to 20%. Jian Wushuang pulled out his arm, and Ren Yinjia's blood still remained above it, but he didn't care about it at all. Chapter 5202. He has been able to devour the power of mind to refining the source of absorption into a complete 2. What kind of concept is this? As long as he kills the 5 ultimate ways of Dian, he will be able to come up with a complete ultimate way. Of course, the premise is that the 5 ultimate Dian Immortals he killed are all the same Dao. This is too rare. The key point is that he still has no ability to kill those half-step emperors who master the ultimate path. My Ji Dao is changing, and I finally know what Ji Dao is. Jian Wushuang felt the expansion of Ji Dao, and now he understands what Ji Dao is. The extreme path is all-encompassing and contains all the avenues. Whether it is the ultimate way or the ordinary 5th rank avenue, it can be integrated, and it has just swallowed the 3 roads, namely the earth, thunder and lightning, and water and fire. Although these 3 roads only swallowed 2 cost sources, they made Jian Wushuang have a deep understanding of the earth, thunder and lightning, water and fire, and the origin of the extreme roads was also more intense. While Jian Wushuang was still comprehending his origin, Kuei Shan was stunned on the spot, and Ren Yinjia's words just made his face sink. "Dead." Chimang's expression changed. Ren Yinjio planned these people with him, and eventually he died first, but if he died, he swallowed the record of these people alone, and could already hit the first 1,000. "Give it to me." Red Mang roared, and a dazzling light shone on the earth, directly obliterating all the other Dian Immortals except the burly man, as well as the original divine body. "No!" Jian Wushuang's eyes widened, and so many Dian Immortals were all dead. Although these people were of average strength, Ji Dao was not picky. Kuei Shan was standing aside and was rushed thousands of miles away by that mighty air wave before he could barely stabilize his figure. "Go!" The current scene is very unfavorable for him. The crowd is okay, but now there are only a few of them, and Jian Wushuang has exploded with great strength. Although he has pleased Chimeng all the way, he does not think this person is reliable. It's okay to team up together, but now everyone is dead, there is no need to stay. Chiman's eyes rolled, a moonlight flashed across, and he said coldly, "I want to go." This time Jian Wushuang didn't give him another chance. Just as the moonlight broke out, he was stopped by a starlight sword aura. Heart Sword World. Today's Heart Sword World has included all the sword moves of the first 5 levels of the Ultimate Way. Once the world projection is deployed, countless sword intents will condense, and each sword shadow can threaten the peak of the Great Emperor. The current Jian Wushuang didn't need to use all his strength to deal with the ordinary Pinnacle Dayan Immortal. Moreover, Chimang's strength was average, not as strong as Luo Hao's outbreak, and he didn't even need a heart sword test to kill him. His figure flashed again, and he had already reached Kuei Shan's eyes. How could he be so strong? Kuei Shan was also taken aback by the scene in front of him. Chi Mang suddenly broke out and killed everyone, and then tried to kill him again. If it weren't for Jian Wushuang, he would have just fallen. Now that Jian Wushuang took the initiative to save him, he thought he would be saved this time. Whoever wanted to take Xia Jian Wushuang and turned his head would be a sharp sword aura. A huge head through an arc, and hot blood sprayed on Jian Wushuang's armor. The Tao of Origin, which had not been broken in the future, was swallowed by thought power in an instant. The Way of the Mountain. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. The power of the earth can improve his control over the power, and the Way of the Mountain can improve his divine body. It is a pity that only 20% can be swallowed, and Quishan's mountain path is only a small origin, a 3rd-rank origin. His improvement is limited. After the swallowing and fusion, he can feel that the divine body has only slightly increased. Although it is very small, the cost is accumulated. This is a genuine increase, not an increase in the eye of the beast god. The divine body has always been a threshold for Jian Wushuang. It is too difficult to break through, and there are few pitiful methods for divine body breakthrough in the universe. The methods that can improve the divine body are all anti-heaven methods that are derived from the structure of a special life, and only those few peak forces have such methods. This kind of pinnacle knowledge requires countless treasures to get started, and it is extremely difficult to practice. However, the divine body is too important for practitioners. Once the source is mastered, it will be dead. The body is only the second improvement of the source. The path. How many people stepped through the entire universe to search for the precious exotic fruit that increased the divine body, and ultimately increased by 100-fold? But if cultivation increases the of the original divine body, as long as the cultivation is completed, there will be 1,000 times the increase of the divine body, and then practicing a method to increase the divine body will approach the special beings in terms of the power of the divine body. Now Jian Wushuang only has the eye of the beast god. If you want to cultivate to increase the divine body, you have to enter the peak power. Although he is the ultimate swordsman, he is not a big deal to the peak power. Only the 4th order emperors are talented. We'll pay attention to it, but if you want to cultivate to increase the faculty of the divine body, you also need a great contribution to be able to practice. As for the Dayan Immortal under the emperor, how much you can contribute, it is impossible for you to achieve it in your life. The starting point is to succeed in harmony, become the ultimate emperor, and become the most peak existence. At that time, the entire peak force will please you and cultivate the genius. Naturally, it is not difficult. Jian Wushuang shook his head secretly. He really became an emperor. He still cared about this. The path of alien fruit is even more impassable. Although Dayan Immortal can travel in the primitive universe, there are too many dangerous places in the universe. A turbulent flow of time and space enters some dangerous places or the universe of some special lives. In the secret realm, he is in danger of falling, not to mention going in to find a different fruit. It is difficult to get out even if he wants to go out. Swallowing one is now a shortcut for him, and he can increase his divine body without the need for faculty and strange fruits. Jian Wushuang's eyes were red and he looked at Chimang. 1 way of the month, so. Only the burly man and the red man are alive now. WWW. Novel. The route of the burly man is so ordinary, I can't see the avenue he is walking on. It should be a side door avenue. The current Jian Wushuang just wants to hurry up to feather the continent and hunt down those who master the path of the mountain, or comprehend the law of the wood path to condense the path. These 2 avenues are the avenues that mainly increase the divine body, and it would be better if there are special lives. Now his strength, there is hope to deal with some weak special lives. Among the special lives, there are some weird lives, such as vegetation and other special lives, which are great tonic for the divine body. This type of special life is generally born and taken away by the big forces. Every part of their body there are treasures everywhere. This type of special life, even if it becomes an emperor, is a great tonic for practitioners. Every time this special life is born, it will be a gluttonous feast. This kind of feast, tens of thousands of chaos era can hardly appear once. Jian Wushuang has also heard of it, let alone seen it before. Chapter 5203. Chimang, who felt Jian Wushuang's rich murderous intent, was surprised. He conspired with Ren Yingjiu this time, aiming at this burly man, so when recruiting players, he chose only a few ordinary Dayan immortals, but he didn't expect the team. A pinnacle powerhouse actually mixed in. This fellow Taoist, this person and us can be divided equally. I don't know what the friendship is like. There was no change on Chimang's face, quietly looking at Jian Wushuang, waiting for a reply. If you can avoid a battle, it's better to avoid it. This is the border of the feathering continent. He doesn't want to work hard here. Even if he surrenders this burly man to Jian Wushuang, he has already made millions this time. The record. This time I've earned enough, I don't need to fight Jian Wushuang anymore, and it can be seen from the surface that Jian Wushuang's strength is not weaker than him, and the world projection is not weaker than the strength of the domain. Suppressing his strength and fighting Jian Wushuang here, he is not sure at all, but it shouldn't be difficult to save his life. Ren Yingjiu said a word, I agree very much, come out and do it, and always have to pay it back. If I am not so strong, this time I will die in your hands. Jian Wushuang replied lightly. He has no reason to share a burly man with the other party. He glanced at the dying burly man, and then at Jian Wushuang. A threat came quietly. Chimang's eyes were full of fear, and he just wanted to quickly leave this ghost place and avoid Jian Wushuang's gaze. But he didn't wait for him to move. A powerful thought and heart force suppressed him at the same time. Fortunately, he has the strength of the peak of the great immortal, and his body can move. It will not move like other people and can only wait for death. But now he is no different from waiting to die. He found that he could not even bear the gravity of the primordial star, and it was very difficult to move, like a snail. The brain has also become very dull, and his thoughts, speed, and strength have been weakened. This, maybe, how could it happen? The Chimang, who was a little uncomfortable, watched Jian Wushuang approaching in a daze, but there was nothing he could do about it. Eclosion Continent, Northwest Junction. 1,000-member Dayan Immortal team went straight to the outside of Feathering Continent. This team of thousands of people is led by a top-level Dayan Immortal, and the rest of the strength is similar. They were originally a battle formation composed of consummation Dayan Immortals. They had been besieging the peak Dayan Immortal in the Western Continent, or fighting each other with other battle formations. They would not stop until the Great Formation collapsed and both sides had worn out more than half. The people who go down are to form a new battle formation together, and their leader needs to fight one-on-one with the opponent's leader, because a battlefield can only be controlled by one person, and only one person can lead the battlefield. The manipulator of this large formation is very remarkable. He has killed several large array manipulators and has been leading the battle formation in an attempt to destroy all the battle formations. Unfortunately, they met the demon monk in the Western Continent, and the entire battle formation was destroyed by one stick. The 1,000-man battle formation had a combat power comparable to the limit Dayan Immortal, and it was broken with just one stick. On Emerging Continent, those who can break the battle formation with one blow, except for a few Dao monarchs, are those who can rank in the top 20, and each of these people is extremely terrifying. They were also unlucky. They encountered the demon monks who had just risen in recent years. If they encountered other half-step monks, they could deal with each other, but the demon monks were terrifyingly powerful, and they were the top existence among half-step monks. Fortunately, this demon monk didn't kill, but only received their identity tokens. However, losing their identity tokens also meant that they were out. On the entire Yuhua continent, he was like a moving stone, and no one paid any attention. Everyone, after leaving the Feathering Continent, let's separate. The leading top-level Dayan immortal looked at the people behind him, feeling very sorry. Seeing those who followed him in the battle again and again, now that they have no identity tokens, they are completely out of the Temple of Chishan, and all these years of fighting have all been busy. In the end, only a fate was left. Since entering the Temple of Chishan, they realized that Dayan Immortal can be strong like this. Each of them is the pride of the heavens in their respective worlds. After becoming the 9th revolution consummation, they are even the elders of some sects, or the elders of the heavenly court. The younger ones are also the Daozi, the emperor or the chief of a certain sect. The future is bright. Now for the opportunity of the Temple of the Forbidden God. How many people fell into the Temple of the Forbidden City in a daze? These people are still lucky, and they can survive when they meet the demon monk. If they meet other strong people, I am afraid they have already fallen. The speed of a group of people is not fast. Without the identity token, they are not as good as a stone, and even if they meet a few strong people, they will not panic at all. You can feel the lifeless atmosphere of this group of people far away. Recently, this group of people has appeared in the Western continent so much, and many people have become accustomed to it. Everyone on the border of the Western mainland, looking back at the place where they once fought, can't help but sigh. Farewell, everyone. Take care. These people come from different big worlds, so it's hard to see each other again. They may not meet each other for the rest of their lives if they are not emperors. Do not. Jian Wushuang, who had already seen a long and curved mainland coastline, also saw the group of Dayan immortals, and quickly approached with a move in his heart. Jian Wushuang, who had just cleaned up Qi Mang and the others, had a fierce aura. Although Crazy Yang had received a lot of news about the emergence of the continent, he just arrived, he really didn't know what was going on in the West. This group of Dayan immortals also felt Jian Wushuang's fierce aura. Now, most of the people who go from the outside to the Western continent are extreme Dayan immortals, but they have no identity tokens, so naturally, not afraid. With a flash, Jian Wushuang appeared in front of everyone. Looking at their scared expressions, Jian Wushuang was stunned. According to what he understood, these people should be those who are in the battlefield, but why they didn't group when they saw him? Array. And one by one doesn't seem to be afraid of him at all. Is it that the current battlefield is so crazy? He has the confidence to kill them all in one sweep. Waiting to see me, why not be afraid? Jian Wushuang stared at everyone coldly. The leading immortal Dayan clasped his fists slightly and said respectfully, "Senior has just arrived. Maybe I don't know that now there has been in existence no less than Taoist in the Western continent, who specializes in sweeping away these battle formations like me. The tokens have been taken away, and they are about to leave the Eclosion continent. Although there is no identity token and no fear of the strong coming, but at any time, we must treat a strong with the utmost respect, and offend the strong, whether it is in the primitive star or the primitive universe, it will cause catastrophe." Chapter 5204. Especially in primordial stars, no one will avenge them even after they have fallen. Jian Wushuang stood in the air and nodded slightly, "So it's like this." With a movement of thought, the identity token in his mind appeared, and the ranking above changed for a while. The ranking of the top 5 Taoists hasn't changed much, but the first 20 fights are extremely fierce. The 5 great lords will still be constrained, but these halfway gentlemen are not afraid of the Taoist monarchs, and they are not affected by anyone. They just keep killing. The top 20 rankings depend entirely on who kills fast enough and who has enough means. Ruthless. The 6th place now is Ji Qiang. This peerless figure who cultivates the unity of 10,000 ways is an emperor from the Apocalypse God dynasty. He has only practiced for tens of thousands of years. He is a peerless, arrogant talent that has not been born for hundreds of millions of years. Consummation should have the strength of a Taoist monarch. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart. This Ji Chaoyang should be the strongest person with the biggest background on this original star. The Apocalyptic dynasty is one of the 3 dynasties of the Ion Tower, and the royal family of the Apocalyptic dynasty is the Ji family. This Ji Chaoyang is still a prince. He is valued by the 4th order emperor of the Ji family, and the treasures on his body are no less than Malong. The number is not as large as Ji Chaoyang. This Ji Jia Tianjiao has been following in the footsteps of Wu Dao Jun, and his ranking has always been 6th. The 7th place is the newly promoted demon monk, who has made the top 10 in just 3 years. Jian Wushuang looked at his ranking again. He had reached the 22nd. He originally thought he would be in the top 20. It seemed that the ecumenization continent was getting more and more crazy. 10 years have not passed. These people are crazy like this. Seeing these unscrupulous people, Jian Wushuang's eyes rolled. The origin of thousands of people, there is no reason to let it go. Although there is no record, killing is equal to killing in vain, but Jian Wushuang can swallow their avenue. And many of this group of people are Dayan immortals who perceive the origin of wood, which is a great tonic. There was an evil aura in his eyes, and the powerful thought power instantly eroded these Dayan immortals, let alone thousands of Dayan immortals. Even if they formed a large formation, he could instantly make these people lose their combat power. This is the horror of mental strength. For weak opponents, it is almost horizontal, and is absolutely not afraid of any crowded tactics. Mind control, plus mind swallowing. The effort of a cup of tea leaves only a dilapidated corpse, and Jian Wushuang has long since disappeared. The origin avenue of thousands of people, although it only absorbs 20%, it can't hold up the crowd. Thinking of viewing one's own origin avenue, especially Jidao, the entire origin is as wide as a small lake, and the lake is full of lotus flowers. Each lotus flower represents an avenue. Among them, the highest growth is the earth. Wood, mountains, water, and fire are very common origin avenues. The current Jian Wushuang can be said to be omnipotent. Every avenue has a level of more than 7 floors, and some have even reached the 9th floor, and they can join the road. But if he is in harmony, I am afraid that he has to abandon all the avenues, even the ultimate kendo. Jian Wushuang secretly guessed in his heart that he would not have to cultivate all the Dao to perfection when he joined the Dao in the future. Let him succeed in the Dao one by one. If so, he couldn't imagine how difficult it was. This is billions of times more difficult than the ultimate way. 10,000 ways in one. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Isn't this also the oneness of 10,000 ways? Although the name is a bit exaggerated, the genre of unity of 10,000 Dao is also practiced through the integration of several avenues in order to go to unity. In other words, the unity of all avenues is the prototype of the utmost Dao. If tens of thousands of avenues are really merged together, it may really be able to reach the level of the utmost Dao. However, this road, the more the weaker the gap may not be obvious, but in the later stage Jian Wushuang can predict the terrifying aspects of Jidao. That is never ending. And there is also the improvement of thought power, and the devouring. Maybe there will be a qualitative leap to the 7th floor. Jian Wushuang randomly found a small hillside, sank directly to the bottom of Wanzhan, and began to retreat again. This time swallowing so many Dayan immortals, he had different views on many avenues, and he could have a foreboding that he would break through all the time. Rank 9 Dayan Immortal is at your fingertips, as short as 3 to 5 months, and as long as 3 years, he has the hope of breaking the mirror. Although there will be less and less doubling after the breakthrough, but now his demand for record is really not very big. Even if he becomes the 9th rank and only doubles 10 times, he is confident to rush into the top 3 and even win the championship. Moreover, after breaking through rank 9, his strength will undergo a qualitative change. At that time, he will have at least the strength of a half-step Dao Monarch. Maybe he can leap into a Dao Monarch, and he will be no less than a half-step Emperor with his own combat power. The eye of the beast augments the divine body, and the origin of the cosmic augmentation of one mind, the combined combat power of the two soars more than 10 times. After sinking deep underground, Jian Wushuang simply arranged an enchantment, opened up a secret room that was several battles long and wide at will, then sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to understand the origin. Even though he is only rank 6 now, he can feel the luck that the emperor said. As soon as Qiyun said, he didn't know much, but those emperors who succeeded in harmony with the Dao, what they learned when they were in harmony with themselves is Qi luck. And now Jian Wushuang can also feel the feelings of those emperors who succeed in harmony. Harmony is difficult, And if you want to succeed, isn't it related to luck? But he didn't know that this so-called chi luck contained too many things, one of which was merit chi luck. Now he runs counter to the merits, and his murderous aura is heavy, especially the evil aura on his body. If he is in the primitive universe, as long as he reveals this evil aura, he will definitely be rejected by the primitive universe. Because this evil aura is so similar to the aura on the body of Taboo Demon Lord, it's almost exactly the same. Fortunately, this is the Temple of Fortune. The origin of the primitive universe cannot detect anything. Although the primordial universe does not know, the true spirit in the origin sea of the Qixin Temple can be seen clearly. Zhen Ling stared, watching everything Jian Wushuang had done, jumping with anger. Damn it! True spirit frowned. Dirty road, he doesn't deserve to appear in the Temple of Qixin. Come here, go to Jiajiao Primitive Star quickly and start a new heritage. In the Sea of Origin, a red hall appeared, and a young woman wearing a fiery red armor walked out slowly. Master True Spirit, this is not in line with the rules. The woman bowed slightly to show respect, then raised her head to look at True Spirit, and said heavily, according to the Master's account back then, the trial of Primordial Star cannot be changed at will. Turn on the inheritances 3 years later, and it will be opened before the time is up, I'm afraid. Before the woman finished speaking, Zhen Ling coldly snorted, Zhu Yi, don't forget, the old master refined you to cooperate with me. Now that the old master is not here, you all have to listen to me, understand? Chapter 5205. Zhu Yi blinked and wanted to refute, but didn't know how to speak. She is indeed just a refined puppet, but she has the exquisite heart bestowed by the gods, and the body is also injected with the power of origin. Except for the structure of the body is different from that of people, she uses everything else that she should have, especially he can also practice and improve his origin. What Qixin gave her back then was the origin of the Sixth Order Emperor, and coupled with the exquisite heart of the 7 orifices, she was no weaker than any emperor and strong. Yes, Zhu Yi is not an ordinary puppet. She knows that this temple of the gods is already a true spirit. She can't help but obey her orders. Modifying the scheduled time is not a big change, and they can still accept it. She had to go back later and work with the other 3 hall masters to have the authority to open the hidden inheritance of the primordial star. The highest trial is not simply fighting each other. Nowadays, the performance alone cannot fully stimulate the potential of these Dayan immortals. More intuitive treasures and inheritance are needed to enable these Dayan immortals to fully stimulate their potential. After Zhu Yi retreated, the Sea of Origin fell into calm again. Seeing Jian Wushuang continue to grow, the true spirit couldn't stop him, so he could only watch. Now that the inheritance was opened in advance, although he could not stop Jian Wushuang, he was able to use the Dao monarchs on the primordial star to deal with Jian Wushuang. Turning his gaze, he looked at the sky curtain where Huiqing was, and he let out a cry of regret. Little guy, I gave you this opportunity alone, and it can be considered to make up for your loss. Zhen Ling raised his hand and gently pointed. A stream of light entered the sky and fell on Huiqing's head. Looking in the sky, it was inconspicuous, but from the primordial star, it was a magnificent beam of light, falling from the sky, and the powerhouses of the entire emerging continent raised their eyes one after another. In the huge light curtain, it is Huiqing who shines. The thick eyebrows trembled slightly, Huiqing's eyes were deep, and the throbbing that had been pressing in her heart broke out instantly. Snapped. Huiqing was paralyzed on the ground, sitting cross-legs with difficulty, forcibly enduring the various memories and mixed origins that emerged in her mind. The thing that had been under his heart began to eat away at his body. Huiqing closed her eyes tremblingly and roared. Ah! The pain in his mind made him roar uncontrollably, and an ancient breath began to invade the breath that originally belonged to him. A beam of light falling from the sky. This kind of abnormality soon attracted countless strong people to come, and the entire western continent was chaotically turned into a pot of porridge, and they rushed in Huiqing's direction. Extreme Dayan Immortal, Half-Walking Monarch, and even Wudao Monarch took one step at this moment, breaking through the sky. The few strong men who arrived first looked at the figure in the beam of light and said, "It turned out to be him. Monk. Sure enough, it is enchanting enough to make primordial star change." An extreme Dayan immortal looked at Hui Qing in the beam of light, with jealousy and envy, turned his head and glanced at the other former. Now the Lord of the 5 Great Paths has not come yet. If this beam of light is a chance, then this is his only chance. Once the other strong come, he has no chance to speak of. Fight. The strong man gritted his teeth and directly tore the beam of light into the beam of light. Other powerhouses were also taken aback, and they could still be like this. Go in. The great venerable fan actually went in. When everyone was amazed, another strong man was also trying to enter, but this Dayan immortal's strength had not reached the limit, and he could not tear the beam of light. Look at it, great venerable fan actually. Everyone turned their heads to look at Fan again, and found that his origin began to fail, his breath continued to decline, and the whole person was softened. Obviously the divine body was also drained, and the whole person finally turned into a mass of blood and evaporated. In the beam of light. Everyone who saw it trembled. This is the limit Dayan immortal. The great venerable Fan, an extreme powerhouse who had been famous for a long time in the great world, just fell. With the lessons learned, everyone dare not act rashly anymore. Time is like water, drop by drop. More and more powerful people outside the beam of light have also gathered, and finally the Wanxing Daojun who has been sitting in the western hunting ground all year round has arrived. Wanxing, as the name suggests, a white robe engraved with starlight, a face of national character with mighty domineering, with deep star eyes, a domineering dominance above 10,000 swept the audience. Daojun. The 10,000 star god emperor. Wanxing. Many strong players on the scene greeted one after another. Although they are usually hostile, the original star has changed. This is an unprecedented thing. The ranking of the record has now entered a state of anxiety. It is not bad for a while. Some half-walkers met with the Wanxing Taoist. Although they were afraid, they still shouted Wanxing. This person is Hui Qing, the monk head of the world of Tongtian Buddhism. Wanxing crossed the crowd, hovering outside the beam of light, staring at Hui Qing himself inside. Exactly. A pinnacle Dayan immortal with quick eyes and quick hands hurriedly approached the Wanxing Daojun. He came earlier and said everything he knew like pouring beans from a bamboo tube. Many people frowned and scolded the flatterer secretly. Wanxing Daojun frowned when he heard Fan's entry and turned into a cloud of blood, but he nodded. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even look at the strong man next to him who explained the ins and outs of him, and finally just said a little. In the West, you can live. A simple sentence made everyone present tremble. This is to warn them that this person is protected and no one can kill him. This is the deterrent power of Daojun in the Eclosian continent. One sentence allows a person to survive. If anyone resists this Eclosian continent, he has no place to stand. The other peak Dayan immortals are all annoyed. www. Novel. Com, especially those who are the first to come. Daojun's promise, this value is too great. The key is that they don't have to pay much. With good luck and the sharp-eyed peak Dayan immortal, he hurriedly bowed and thanked him, and after doing all this, he stepped aside wittily and didn't bother Wanxing Daojun. This episode passed quickly with the wind. The most important thing now is to figure out why the beam of light shines on Hui Qing. It seems that Hui Qing is cultivating inside, which makes everyone on the outside very anxious. If it is the first-ranked Daojun blood moon with this treatment, they will not say anything. After all, it is currently the number 1, but Hui Qing, who is now ranked 7th, does not have the strength of Daokuan, and is not ranked 1st even before. 3 of them didn't make it. Why would they be specially taken care of, causing the primordial star to descend the beam of light? Through the enchantment in the primordial star sky, they could see other primordial stars. The other primordial stars are now the same as before, without any changes. Only their primordial star has this situation. They didn't know that the true spirit in the Sea of Origin was spying on this scene across the sky. Chapter 5206. This little guy was quite strong in his previous life, and it seems that I have to help you again. Zenling's eyes turned steadily, and the fleshy beards at the corners of his mouth fluttered. Forget it, I will prepare it for you sooner or later. I will give you this magic circle. The true spirit dropped it casually, and a golden ring was thrown into the sky. This made Zhu Yi, who was stationed in the primordial realm, raised his brows and cursed in his heart. This old guy is getting more and more shameless, and he has thrown the eternal treasure at will to a little guy who is just dying immortal. Although the true spirit is the master of the temple of Forbidden God, she is also refined by the old master, and she is also the person in charge of the peak trial. May the 5 domains of the world correspond to the 5 domains of the original universe. These dying immortals are responsible for their vermilion bird palace. Now that the true spirit is so tossed about, all her plans have been messed up. The peak trial emphasizes fairness. Now that Huiqing has opened the back door, she also has to distribute inheritance to other primordial stars in advance. Zhu Yi, does the old man Jinling attach too much importance to dying immortal? A mighty warrior with cyan armor walked into the ancient hall, his tone obviously unhappy. Although she also disagrees with true spirit's approach, primordial realm is her chassis. These selected dying immortals will become her subordinates if they succeed in coordinating. Only the strongest people will inherit the differences. God's inheritance, and the rest after thousands of selections, can be regarded as Tianjiao. Since the Temple of Qixin has smashed so many resources, it will naturally not be wasted, and it will definitely be paid to its subordinates. In other words, these dying immortals are her people. Long Yi, the bloodthirsty continent is staring at those emperors. Why are you here with me? Zhu Yi said with a cold face and a low voice. Also, these dying immortals are my people. You come to comment? Hurry up and go back to your bloodthirsty continent. I like your violent temper. Long Yi was not angry, but instead sat on the throne on the side, jokingly said, Of course I have something important to come here. I heard that Zhu Qi will go to other places. The universe plundered dying immortal, who controlled the ultimate way, and was beaten to death by a 6th-order emperor. I didn't care about her. Let's take a look. The dying immortal of the primitive universe, indeed, could not saturate the strongest trial of the Qixin Temple. According to the true spirit's instructions, the Vermilion Bird Temple sent the remaining 6 Vermilion Bird envoys to other universes to plunder, but it was a coincidence that there was one. A Tier 6 existence was born in the universe, severely wounding Zhu Qi, but fortunately, the puppet that was refined and was pregnant with a treasure barely escaped. The horror of the 6th-order emperor, she herself knows, because she also has the 6th-order combat power, but now the first stage of the original star trial has been accelerated. She has to plunder enough before the first stage of the trial is over. Yenxian starts the second phase of the trial. This time, we have plundered almost tens of thousands of dying immortals from other universes, and there are hundreds of dying immortals who are half-step emperors who control the ultimate way. The others are either the second-rank top source or the unity of 10,000 ways. The pride of heaven in every universe. It's fine if the other universe doesn't have a 6th order, and now I can only say that they are unlucky. If it weren't for her to sit in the primitive world, she would have gone to find the 6th-order emperor to avenge her subordinates. An aboriginal 6th-order emperor, a 6th-order emperor who did not even comprehend the secrets of the universe. She still doesn't care about it, but now she doesn't have time to take revenge. Zhu Qi's injury has been repaired. I thank you on her behalf. You can go. Zhu Yi said impatiently. Long Yi curled his lips and said again, I have one more thing to discuss with you this time. The situation in the bloodthirsty continent has changed. Every one of these emperors is honest. My bloodthirsty continent is not a primordial star. The hundreds of millions of people who are still living are all direct descendants that I have cultivated with all my heart. Now these emperors have almost given them to Huohua. They can no longer be allowed to stay in the bloodthirsty continent. If they stay, the mainland will have to collapse. The bloodthirsty continent is the base camp of the Azure Dragon Palace. The entire continent is 1/10 the size of the universe. There are hundreds of millions of people living on it, and many powerful people have been born. These people have joined the Azure Dragon Palace and are regarded as the direct line of Dragon One. But since the emperors of the primitive universe were allowed to enter the bloodthirsty continent, the whole continent was disturbed. After these emperors entered, they didn't ask about inheritance. Instead, they started fighting each other for the chassis, fighting hard, and the Shenlu who was fighting almost collapsed. In the end, he personally came forward to stop everyone. The trial of the emperor is not trivial. Every emperor's temple is ready to recruit his subordinates. But now that the emperors of the primitive universe have not yet gathered, the emperors of other universes are also rushing here. According to the regulations of the gods of the year, the third-order emperors recruited 10,000 people are considered to be saturated, and the emperors below the third-order need as much as they need. Only those first-order and second-order emperors will sell their lives to them. The third-order emperors are different. Most of their paths have not yet been completed. They are all staring at the positions of the fourth-order, fifth-order, and even sixth-order emperors. Even some outstanding ones, such as Zhenliang and Tongtian Buddha, are not only aiming at sixth-order emperors. It's that simple. Even if there is no Qishan temple, they all hope to enter the fifth-order emperor. Their goal is to reach the top of the universe. For this kind of emperor, a simple treasure or a little increase in strength can't satisfy their appetite at all. Only some core inheritance can satisfy these powerful emperors. There are too many inheritances contained in the original sea of the Qishan temple, but these inheritances are counted, and they are for cultivating those who evolve immortals and great immortals. The secrets of the universe that can make the emperor's eyes greedy. www. Novel. The Qishan temple will not be easily taken out. These emperors are the darlings of the universe. Each of them is the protagonist between the heaven and the earth, not the fairy and the great. Yenxian can be compared. Even the temple of Forbidden God can't manipulate them at will. The two sides can only exchange each other's needs. Now that Long Yi came here to ask for help, it was obvious that he couldn't restrain the group of emperors. I heard that there is an ultimate emperor. Zhu Yi asked curiously. The ultimate emperor was extremely precious in ancient times, and there can be an ultimate emperor in the primitive universe, which is much more precious than those sixth-order emperors. There is indeed an ultimate emperor, but the true spirit has already promised to deal with the party and will talk about it alone. Long Yi smiled slightly. Although the other party is only a fifth-order emperor, it can be the ultimate existence. Looking at the long river of time and space, there are not many. The emperor is too precious for the temple of Qishan. It's a pity that it was not cultivated by the temple of the gods, and will not work for the temple of the gods in the future. This kind of existence can only be good, and while he has not grown up, he will give him some benefits, and he will have great achievements in the future, and it will also be able to help them. Temple of Qi. Chapter 5207. After Zhu Yi heard the conversation with Zhenling in person, his face changed slightly, and his expression was puzzled, and he was surprised. Talk in person? What the is this old man? But the master has stipulated that the emperor must not lightly tell him. Is he going to open the back door again? Thanks, Tusk, it seems that you don't know much. Long Yi said with a dry laugh, and then lowered his voice. The ultimate emperor has created the prototype of the universe's secret law. Although his strength is tier 5, he has already entered the origin of the universe. The threshold is up. Do you know what this means? The origin of the universe? Zhu Yi's eyes shrank suddenly, surviving countless reincarnations, and traveling a long time in space. From ancient times to the present, she has seen too many powerful men. The overlord of the starry sky such as the god of Qi, or the right arm of the god of God in the beginning, are all existences at the master level of the universe. However, since the fall of the Qishan, the temple of the Qishan has drifted all the way, and there have been many long rivers of time and space. But if you want to see the Lord of the universe who was incomparably powerful in the ancient times, there are few and few, some weak time and space rivers, even one there is no master of the universe. Now the ultimate existence in the primitive universe has created the prototype of the universe's secret method, and has stepped into the threshold of the origin of the universe, and is still a fifth-order emperor. When he enters the sixth order, How strong will his strength be? By mastering the secret method and mastering the origin of the universe, you will become the master of the universe, and also the master of the universe with the ultimate way. This is even less in the long river of time and space. The true spirit mentioned to me that the future achievements of this ultimate existence are not trivial. He is also qualified to know the secrets in the temple of Chishin, and the true spirit will pass on to him a copy of the inheritance that the master once received from another existence. Even the master attaches great importance to the inheritance. It was originally intended to be given to a few masters, but unfortunately it was ruined before it was sent. Long Yi sighed at this point. The gods of ancient times were very powerful enough to reverse the rivers of time and space, make the universe annihilate, and let time stand still, but in the end they were still defeated by fate. Although the two are just puppets, their moods are no different from ordinary people after they have the 7 orifices exquisite heart, and there are also some people's emotions and sorrows. Zhu Yi took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and said calmly, "This kind of powerhouse, even if the master is still alive, will be taken seriously, let alone now." "You still talk about it, what is going on?" "I am still waiting for the group of Dayan immortals to select inheritance, but I don't have time to talk about those emperors with you." "Haha, it's really far and I have forgotten business." Long gave a big laugh and then said, "I think your side is strange and clean. These little guys are all trialing on Primordial Star, and the Emperor on my side is nothing. It's better to leave you here for a while, and when everyone is there, I will make another plan." The emperors who stayed in the primitive universe were only able to fancy a few of them. After the rest of the peak trial was over, he sent them into the Sea of Origins and gave them some benefits. The ones that he fancy are hanging in the Temple of Chishin. Personal name, given some treasures and inheritance, and in the future, the Temple of Chishin will go to other time and space rivers. These people will follow if they want to follow, and they don't want to follow them and don't force it. This thing is nothing to the Chishin Temple, not even a dime. As for those monarchs below Tier 3, even if they are unwilling to follow, they will force them with them. In their opinion, these weak emperors are still good to control, at least obedient. Throwing a bit of trash can satisfy them. Why bother to train those 3rd order and 4th order emperors, who have a strong appetite for general strength? The Temple of Chishin, the opening of the peak trial, is to seek the heir of the Chishin. The emperor is no longer suitable to be an inheritor. Zhu Yi frowned. Now her side was messy enough. Put these emperors in, she still had to stare at these emperors, and she had to prepare for the inheritance, and her messengers were plundering Dayan immortals everywhere. The 4 halls have been born since the start of the highest trial. Xuanwu Temple is responsible for the trial of evolving immortals. Suzaku Palace is in charge of Dayan Immortal. The Qinglong Temple is in charge of the Emperor. The White Tiger Palace is a bit special. They need to stay in the Kishin's inner hall for a long time. They will never interfere in the trial. However, the strong ones selected in the future will be sent to the White Tiger Palace. Although there is no inheritor in the White Tiger Palace, it can be used to prepare for the inheritance. They are not idle either. Now in the 4 main halls, there is nothing to do with the Qinglong Hall, just watching a group of emperors, and for this, she has to push it to her. Absolutely impossible. There are no extra people on my side to stare at these emperors. Zhu Yi refused. You should go to the Xuanwu Hall to check it out. The selection of Yanxian is not faster than Dayanxian. Xiao, maybe it's almost over, just to send these emperors over to raise their horizons. Oh, don't mention it. I just came over from the turtle snake. The wild beasts caught on the primordial star are not enough for the immortals to kill. I went to the turtle snake just now to find me for a sharpening stone, or if it weren't for me. Run fast, he will take my children to feed those immortals. Long Yi looked sad. The controller of the 4 main halls, Baihu, controls the secret realm of the inner hall, but the lowest key. The controller of Qinglong Temple, Long Yi, sits in the bloodthirsty continent. There is the richest piece of land world in the Chishin Temple. He is in that world and is cultivated below. Countless ethnic groups, claiming to be the main god. He is the most protective of shortcomings. Zhu Yi's temperament is rather cold, and in one sentence he gave all the wild beasts in the primitive realm to the Xuanwu Temple and destroyed countless planets to create 180 primitive stars. In this way, I will let the fourth child look at these people, and by the way, let the sixth and the seventh go to other universes to help you plunder Dian immortals, the Shoaling slaves. These people are clumsy and inefficient. Long Yi said cheerfully. Zhu Yi was a little moved. Her side was too short of people. The original source of plundering Dian immortal was those of the spirit slaves, but their efficiency was too low. She had to let her envoys go to other universes to plunder Dian immortal together. Now Long Yi agreed to help. She just vacated a place for the emperors to stay here for a few years, and this business could be done. Okay, it's a deal. Zhu Yi thought for a while and directly agreed. Haha, I just like you as a happy person, not like a tortoise and snake. Long Dashi. I will let them in. People are outside. Long Yi continued. By the way, let them enter the Vermilion Bird Palace or go to other places. Zhu Yi waved his hand. The entire primordial realm, in addition to the place of trial, there are some planets that contain treasure houses and inheritance places. Now there are very few places left which can accommodate thousands of emperors, but cannot let them go around. There is only one place left. Let them go to Moyne Mountain. Just where there is a ray of the origin of the universe, it can stabilize them temporarily. Zhu Yi rubbed his brows. The internal world of the Qixin Temple is huge, comparable to a universe, but the treasures and inheritances are also very large, which is so suffocating. The four main halls control only a small part. The true core heritage and treasures of are in the Sea of Origin, and they are all controlled by the true spirit. Yes. Long Yi took out a token and said in a low voice, send them to the Moyne Mountain of Primitive World. Remember to be polite to them and don't neglect. After these people join the Temple of Qixin in the future, most of them will be his subordinates. Now that they are driven out, they can't do too much. Okay, you can go if there is nothing to do. I am very busy here. Zhu Yi rubbed his brows and began to calculate how to distribute the inheritance. After all, 180 primordial stars started the trial inheritance at the same time. The strong on the stars calculate the type of inheritance. Primitive star. There are 3 half-step emperors, 17 Dao lords, and half-step lords on the top. There are hundreds of half-step princes. There are also the most Dian immortals on this primitive star. There are tens of millions of Dian immortals, which is better than other primitive stars. To be doubled. For this kind of primordial star with many strong players, he will arrange a better inheritance trial, otherwise it will not play a fair role. With the exquisite heart of 7 orifices, even if there are hundreds of millions of trialists, she can clearly remember every Dian immortal, especially those Dian immortals that she secretly favors. Zhenling can be optimistic about Huiqing and hate Jian Wushuang, and she also has an optimistic view of Dian immortal. Jiajiu primitive star, she is more optimistic about the Wanqing Daojun. As for Huiqing and Jian Wushuang, she only pays a little attention to these 2 little guys who are very broken in their cultivation time. She has never paid attention to it, it is true. Ling has been obsessed with these 2 people. For these 2 people, the inheritance trial was started in advance. According to the original plan, after 10 years of the primordial star combat, when the trialists were all deposited, she would start the trial again, which would arouse the fighting spirit of those Dian immortals. https://1 second to remember Acehang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5208. Bloodthirsty Continent. Hundreds of thousands of ethnic groups lived on the vast ancient continent of Fuyuan, and naturally many emperors were born. Because of Long Yi, these emperors were not weak in strength, and even had a 5th-tier emperor. At this time, the indigenous emperors of the bloodthirsty continent were fighting against the foreign emperors of the primitive universe. There are tens of thousands of emperors in the 5 major domains of the original universe. Even if the opponent is a 5th-order emperor, facing so many powerful men, they are still terrified. After all, they have never come out of a bloodthirsty continent. Although they live on the ancient continent, there may not necessarily be as many emperors as the outside world. You outsiders, if it weren't for the Lord God, I would have killed you. Murderous intent was revealed in the eyes of the native Fifth Order Emperor. This group of foreign emperors was too much, and it was only a few years before the bloodthirsty continent was divided into bloodthirsty continents. Several forces have disrupted the order for countless years. In the primitive universe, it is not the ultimate emperor who takes the lead, but the 5 pinnacle forces of the Ion take the lead and confront the native emperor. It's been almost 10 years since I came in, and it's no good at all. It's teleporting us to this ancient continent. This temple of Chishan treats us as beggars. I think it's better to go to war and destroy this ancient continent directly. I don't believe that any dragon hasn't come forward yet. No, the opponent's strength is too strong. The strength of that Azure Dragon envoy is too strong. Then what do? We are here, we can't wait here all the time. Out and can't get out. The 5 pinnacle forces, and the phantoms of all Fourth Order emperors float in the Ion, discussing together. After they entered the Temple of Chishan, they were sent to the bloodthirsty continent. The envoy of the Azure Dragon Temple only left a sentence and waited and ignored them. In the outside world, there are emperors and strong men who can stand this, and it has been 10 years now. They are like ants on a hot pot, and they are not even in the mood for meditation. The messenger never appeared again except for seeing them when they first came in, and threw them over the bloodthirsty continent. It was good at first. After all, it was an ancient continent. They also explored around and found that the ruins on the continent had been unearthed a long time ago, and there were no valuable treasures and heritage at all. This makes them a headache. They also know that there are many worlds in the Temple of the Gods, and even the Temple of the Gods itself is a universe. They don't care about a continent, but they never show up to tell them that they can't wait any longer. Start tossing on the bloodthirsty continent. Inside the Ion Tower, the strongest monarchs in the entire universe are now gathered, and now only a word, they will explode, sinking the entire Shenlu into the dark void. Everyone make a decision. The Wind and Rain Demon Lord who sits in the central area said majestically at the highest point of the Ion Tower. Either force that messenger out now, or just keep waiting. If you wait like this, the powerhouses of other universes will come, and their competitiveness will be even greater. Wind and Rain, are you sure you won't let Senior Shang come forward in this matter? An emperor who was also the leader of the Pinnacle Force asked, a little uneasy. Although there are many emperors in the primitive universe, there is only one Fifth Order emperor left behind, and that is the ultimate emperor, Shang. There are too many legends about him. It is the ultimate existence that makes countless powerful men bow their heads, and the ultimate emperor, Shang, who has great reputation in the long river of time and space. Although his current strength is only Tier 5, his potential and origin are the strongest existence in the entire universe, and even Tier 6 monarchs in other universes cannot match it. Under normal circumstances, the second-rank Yuan Dao can reach the Fifth Order Emperor after the completion, and the Sixth Order Emperor has higher requirements. In the long time and space of Hanoi, there are several Sixth Order Emperors. All of them are the Sixth Order Emperors after they walked to the end of the second-tier road. There is also the Emperor of Ultimate Existence and 10,000 Descent, the Emperor who has entered the Sixth Order by virtue of his own origin. This kind of character is the real strong. Ordinary Sixth Order Emperors have most spied on the universe and created the secrets of the universe, but the Ultimate Existence is different. They can elevate their origin to the level of the origin of the universe, create their own secrets of the universe from their origin, and become the universe's secrets in the future. Mainly pave the way. This is also the reason why Jinling attaches so much importance to business. Although many emperors of the primordial universe did not know the reasons for this, they could still understand the ultimate way. How could an ultimate Fifth Order emperor be comparable to them? Senior Shang and I weren't the same person. Relying on him to wait for me, did you get kicked by the donkey? Qi Shu's face was gloomy, and he mocked publicly. As Qi Shui, who gained the Tao in the same era as Shang, he did not deal with Shang in the ancient times. When the two were at the same level, Qi Shui, as the most peak special being, could also challenge Shang, But as the ultimate path reached the later stage, it became more and more important. Powerful, but the special life is in the later stage, the understanding is not enough, it is easy to get stuck at one point, can't compare with the ultimate way at all. However, Qi Shui at that time was also very arrogant. Even if his strength was not as good as Shang, he did not want to bow his head, and the two fought a lot because of a secret realm. At that time Shang had just stepped into Tier 4, Qi Shui was still the pinnacle of Tier 3, had been stuck, and had fallen behind Shang, but because he was not convinced, he insisted on fighting with Shang. In the end, he stopped because his body was on the verge of defeat. After this war, Qi Shui was honest, knowing that he was not an opponent, so he had been repairing the divine body in a cosmic secret territory. After tens of thousands of chaotic eras, the divine body was completely restored, and he entered the Fourth Order Emperor, and Shang traveled through the long river of time and space. After returning, he broke through the Fifth Order Emperor in one fell swoop. Since then, Qi Shui is truly giving up. This secret is not known to many people, and only the leaders of the peak forces know it, but no one will say it at this time. Don't look at the red level when it is shameless, but Shang has always been his negative scale. The emperor also knew that he had said the wrong thing. Although he was a little dissatisfied with Qi Shu's ridicule, he also knew that this was not the time for internal fighting. Feng Yumajuan and the others were standing behind the Fifth Order Emperor, who originally didn't want Shang to get ahead. Qi Shui naturally had no objection. In that case, proceed according to the plan and take down this continent first. Feng Yumajuan glanced at everyone before speaking directly. These days, they have secretly discussed countermeasures. Since the Temple of the Gods is opened and the tens of thousands of emperors have been moved in, it must be of great use. Even if they take this continent, the messenger dare not do much with them. Wind and rain, let's do it. I saw the native monarchs displease their eyes a long time ago. They took so many treasures, and the strength was so bad, it was a violent thing. https://1 second to remember Ace Hang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5209. A Fifth Order Emperor who relies on the eternal treasure, we all can suppress him together, there is nothing to be afraid of. The reason why these people agreed to the whole plan was mostly because the treasures in the hands of the native emperors were so many that they were greedy. Although they are native emperors and have never been out of this continent, they have the most complete ancient heritage, as well as the eternal treasure that makes the Fifth Order Emperor crazy. And there is more than one. Such a big treasure house. How can it not make the tens of thousands of emperors in the primitive universe look enthusiastic? As long as they rob these indigenous emperors, they will not run in vain. Do it. The power of the Ion erupts, and a violent aura sweeps the entire continent. Kill. Several peak emperors jumped up, their stature skyrocketing to thousands of miles. Thousands of emperors formed a majestic formation, sitting under the Ion Tower, sending a steady stream of power to the Ion Tower. If the treasure corresponds to the Dian Immortal, then the innate treasure corresponds to the Emperor. The eternal treasure corresponds to the peak existence of Hanoi in time and space. The universe will collapse, time will cycle, but the eternal treasure will never die. In the eyes of the Emperor, its power is unlimited. The power of thousands of emperors was jointly instilled in the Ion, causing the Ion to burst into unprecedented light. The native emperor's side was obviously frightened by this scene. Although they have ancient heritage, the number of them differs greatly. Although they have a fifth-tier emperor in their top combat power, they can have the upper hand, but in the current situation, the fifth-tier emperor may not be able to compete with the towering pagoda in front of him. This power is too powerful. In addition to the main god, they felt that suffocating power for the second time. 10,000 battles of rainbow light, like Tianqing. The treasure of eternity, when suppressing all Xiao Xiao. Fengyu Demon Lord danced with the wind in a black robe, with a superb posture like a god. Her voice just fell, the powerful power of the Ion, approaching the indigenous emperor. This is to directly suppress the Fifth Order Emperor with the eternal treasure. If you don't rely on the treasure, it would be unrealistic for them. the Fourth Order Peak Emperors, to besiege the Fifth Order Emperor who possesses the eternal treasure. After all, Tier 4 and Tier 5 are too far apart, and the crowded tactics alone will not work at all. If you want to suppress or even kill the Fifth Order Emperor, only by relying on the powerful treasures, formations, tactics, and many methods that can integrate their tens of thousands of Emperor's strengths can they contend with the Fifth Order Emperor. A huge suction hit instantly, and the Fifth Order Emperor turned out to be a little hard to resist, let alone the rest of the native emperors. They turned into streamers and were swallowed into the ion. This move made the Fifth Order Emperor a headache. These emperors are not his subordinates. These people are all the disciples and grandchildren of the Lord God. Now they are all suppressed, and it is too late for him to save. These inheritors were too much and completely angered him. You are provoking the gods. The Fifth Order Emperor forcibly stood firm and slowly raised one hand, making waves in the void with a fist. Stop it for me, boom. A fist shadow that shocked the world appeared, directly smashing the Ion Tower out of millions of miles. The several powerful emperors sitting in the Ion Tower were shocked in their chests, and a mouthful of Scarlet Academy spewed out. As the controller of the Ion Tower, Wind and Rain Demon Lord, her backlash was even more serious, and that punch severely injured her through the Ion Tower. Is this the power of the Fifth Order Emperor? Or to say, the Fifth Order Emperor who possesses the eternal treasure is too strong, and one person shakes 10,000 immortals. Wind and Rain, what to do? This person is too strong, beyond our expectation. He definitely has the eternal treasure of blessings. Fenyu Demon snorted coldly, glanced at the crowd, and said coldly, "Why, I'm scared just now." Carry on. Now that they are all in the Ion Tower, there is no way to stop them. These people secretly cursed the madman Fenyu Demon Lord. A group of timid goods, just want to get a big chance. Feng Yu mocked in his heart. After only a little bit of injury, they began to retreat, one by one in the primitive universe for a long time, and became so afraid of death. A Fifth Order Emperor can't be achieved in a lifetime, let alone the pinnacle of the universe. The current Wind and Rain can also be seen through. No wonder the Temple of God looked down on them. Dian Immortal and Yen Xian are both testing, and only these emperors were thrown on the bloodthirsty continent. This shows that the Temple of Qishan didn't regard them as trials at the beginning, saying that it was waiting for other emperors, and even if they were all gathered, they would be sent away with a little profit. To count on this group of people to reach the pinnacle of the universe, it is better to retrain Xian Xian and Dian Xian, one for them to be suitable for control, and secondly for those who have cultivated themselves. The Temple of Qishan is at least well known. These emperors are different, one by one noble for a long time, and then let them suffer, but it is not so easy. It is said that these emperors can't wait for a few years now, and they are starting to make noise one by one. Above the bloodthirsty continent, a large hole ruptured in a void. www. Novel. A burly man with a blue armor stepped out of it. Having just returned to the base camp, Long Yi saw the many emperors below, and shook his head helplessly. Brother Long Yi made you laugh? The man who came is the existence of the first power in the primitive universe, Shang, who masters the ultimate way. Shang's appearance is very ordinary, but the aura of destruction exuding from his gestures makes people palpitate. It's okay, this is also because my Long Yi didn't entertain him well. Long Yi said very politely. He knew that true spirit values quotient, so he was naturally very polite. Someone who has the hope to master the origin of the universe. Once you have mastered the origin of the universe, you are the Lord of the universe. In the Temple of the Gods, the Lord of the universe can be ranked as the Lord of God, and exists on the same level as the true spirit. Now that Shang has received the benefits of the Qishan Temple, even if he doesn't settle in the Qishan Temple, he will put up a vacant position in the future. It is already considered an internal escort. Long Yi is naturally polite. After all, he will not only be his own but also his boss in the future. The state of mind is too bad, so anxious, even if it is passed on to them, it is a waste. Shang looked at the battle below, especially seeing Chishui's red-faced scene, which made him a little disappointed. Powerful contemporaries, he left these people too far. He is also unique among the Fifth-order emperors. The other Fifth-order emperors in the universe have all gone to the long river of time and space, and even many have gone out and never come back. These emperors all know the secrets of the primitive universe, and the future primitive universe will only be out of the universe. The Lord will be swallowed by the taboo demon Lord. They don't even have the courage to resist, they just know how to escape. Shang didn't understand this very much. He even gave up his hometown. There is nowhere to come in life. Only the way back is incomplete. Completeness is needed to achieve the emperor, and completeness is needed to win the universe. https://1 second to remember Ace Hang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5210. It was only when Shang realized this, that he returned to the primitive universe from the long river of time and space, and has been retreating to comprehend the origin of the primitive universe, creating his own cosmic secret. Brother Long Yi, these people are all emperors accumulated in countless epochs in my primitive universe anyway, and I hope his men will show mercy. Although he is not optimistic about these people, Shang still misses his old feelings, and now he is fighting on other people's territories. Even if Long Yi kills a group, he has nothing to say. When Long heard this, he immediately smiled. Don't worry, I won't embarrass them, but I have to change places for them to make trouble. These inheritors, Qishan Temple has no right to kill them privately, especially Yanxian and Dianxian. Even true spirit cannot erase them without permission. Shang nodded and didn't say much. There are many internal worlds in the Temple of Qishan, which Shang has already realized. By the way, the inheritance bestowed by Master True Spirit requires going to the great world of reincarnation. It is quite dangerous there. If you are not in a hurry, I will put these emperors first. Brother Long Yi, do business first, I'm not in a hurry. Shang Wei smiled slightly. Long Yi grinned, and secretly sighed that the ultimate emperor was different. Looking at the rabble crowd below, what is the use of this group of emperors? It is not as good as the emperor born in the Temple of Qishan. There are many emperors born in the Qishan Temple. There are hundreds of his bloodthirsty continents alone, and there are many other big worlds. It is just that the Qishan set the rules and inheritors to choose from the outside world. But he really didn't see the good thing about the outside emperor. Could it be for the ultimate emperor? The odds are too small. Long Yi shook his head, no longer thinking about it. His figure sank and fell into the vortex of fighting. Set. Dragon 1 lightly said a certain word, and the turbulent battlefield directly stopped. Even the Fifth-order emperor couldn't move. The eternal tower of infinite might also quietly stopped in the void. The aura was suppressed to the extreme. What's going on? The strong inside the ion tower was at a loss, unable to move his body. Look, it's the messenger from the Temple of Qishan. The sharp-eyed Qishui walker shouted. Everyone looked around, the goal was achieved, and the messenger was forced out, but the strength of this messenger was a bit unbelievable. They can still bear the methods of the Fifth-order emperor strong, but now this my envoy has suppressed them and the Fifth-order emperor as soon as he took action, and even suppressed the positive film void, making them unable to move. Master God. The Fifth-order native emperor bowed his head respectfully. In the bloodthirsty continent, Long Yi is a god, and no one can defy him. Long Yi's face was cold at this time, and his attitude towards Shang was different from the previous one. He didn't even move his hands, just a move in his heart released the numerous indigenous emperors suppressed in the Ion Tower. This is the power of the Sixth-order top emperor. Even the eternal treasure cannot defy his ideas. You all go back first. Long glanced at the crowd and said coldly. Many aboriginal emperors didn't dare to say anything. They still wanted to complain in front of the Lord. Yes. Everyone retreated, including the Fifth-order emperor. A dispute ended in this way, and Long Yi personally mediated from it. Long Yi didn't bother to talk nonsense with these emperors of the primitive universe, and directly moved them to the primordial realm. If these emperors were recruited by the Divine Hall in the future, they would also enter his command. Now is not the time to clean them up. There is an opportunity hidden here, enough for you to comprehend here. The dragon paused for a while and then said, "By the way, this is the trial world of your primordial universe, Dian Immortal. It's not like a bloodthirsty continent. Don't be presumptuous here or you will fall." Everyone had just fallen into shape. They were all taken aback when they heard Long Yi's words, and then felt the weight of the last sentence. This was not a threat to them, but a piece of advice. As for the trial of Dian Immortal, although they were a little curious, they didn't care too much. Since there is a heritage here and it can benefit everyone, that's enough. "Thank you, messenger." Qishui Xingzhe looked respectful and bowed slightly. The rest of the people reacted and bowed together to thank you. After all, they have just seen the strength of this messenger. Those fourth-order peak emperors are very clear that the strength of this messenger is definitely more than the existence of the fifth-order emperor, and the peak powerhouse is much stronger than all the powerhouses in the original universe combined. This kind of character, even in the long river of time and space, is extremely rare, and now they can see it, and they dare to run wild on his chassis. If he died 100 times in the outside world, fortunately, this is the temple of the gods. Okay, let's practice here. The specific arrangements are waiting for me to inform. Long waved his hand, and then threw a token. The top of it shows the rank of Dian Immortals on all primitive stars. This is a primitive the overall ranking of Jie Dianxian. The ranking above is divided into two colors, one is green and the other is gray. Green means being alive, and gray means having fallen. At first, everyone didn't pay attention to even if you explored in the secret realm of the primitive universe, there is still the risk of falling, and there will be battles within the big world. For example, in the ancient era of Desiu, the Big Death, the corpse of Yanxian can form a continent. At first, everyone didn't care too much. After the ranking on the token was completely unfolded, they were stunned. The gray names in the entire ranking are 10 times the previous green names. This representative, the Dian Immortal who entered the Qishan Temple, has fallen 90%, and now only 10% is left. "My envoy, are you sure that the gray names are all the fallen Dian Immortals?" someone asked incredulously. Long Yi nodded slightly and said in a cold voice, "Yes, it has fallen, so you have to cherish the moment. The battle of Dian Immortal is much more cruel than you." He was right. Dian Immortal has been fighting for less than 10 years now, but the Temple of Forbidding God hasn't given anything in these 10 years, which has reduced these Dian Immortals by 90%. These emperors did nothing, stirred up the situation in the bloodthirsty continent and acted arbitrarily, and they got a heritage of great opportunity in the long river of time and space. You are here to practice well. Just after Long Yi's words fell, the figure disappeared into the void, leaving everyone behind. However, just after he disappeared, the void outside was a meal. 2 fifth-order emperors appeared above, glanced at the people below, and gradually disappeared in the void. These two are the messengers of the Azure Dragon Palace, responsible for guarding these emperors, which is what Long Yi promised. Long Yi returned to the bloodthirsty continent at this time and walked towards the merchant who was waiting for him. Business opportunities are even greater, but these have nothing to do with others. Well, why is the ranking so low? A fourth-order emperor looked at the ranking list in confusion. https://1 second to remember Acehang Novel Network. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 5211. He is the father of God Emperor Mo Long, the top emperor of Tier 4, and his strength is very powerful. Now that he saw his son at the bottom, he felt very uncomfortable, especially now that all the emperors were present. The many emperors who hadn't cared about this ranking in the first place quickly began to compare them. "Brother Mo, I heard that many of your treasures were given to your precious son. Why didn't I find him on this list?" My disciple ranks pretty well. His original star ranks in the top 3, and the total rank is also in the top 100. Let's get busy. Some people are happy, others are sad. The father of God Emperor Mo Long and the Tao ancestor of the Great Dream Realm both had dark faces. One is that his son is at the bottom of the ranking, and the other is that his disciples and grandchildren are almost destroyed. Everyone only paid a little attention to the ranking and soon fell into the foot of this majestic mountain. Moyin Mountain, as the name suggests, a magic sound surrounds the mountain. This magic sound can make the emperors resist a little bit and eat their willpower all the time. This is the so-called chance? Look up. Everyone looked up, and a magnificent original avenue was erected on the top of the magic mountain, exuding a powerful atmosphere. The power of this origin is too strong. It can be comparable to the origin of our primitive universe, and such a powerful origin has been abandoned on this mountain. A top emperor couldn't help feeling. The origin of the primitive universe has been swallowed by the taboo demon lord. Now the remaining origin is incomplete, and the origin avenue on the demon mountain is incomplete, but even if it is incomplete, it is a universe origin avenue, and it is in such a small place. We must know that the origin of the original universe is so large that it covers the entire universe. Unconsciously, everyone started to move into the magic mountain. At the moment they stepped into the demon mountain, an existence whose hands and feet were bound by iron chains suddenly opened his eyes. A pair of scarlet eyes exuded evil aura. If Jian Wushuang saw it, he would be absolutely shocked. That aura is very similar to the evil aura on Jian Wushuang's body, but the aura exuded by this existence is not complete. Just like that incomplete source, it's all incomplete. Jie. It's a delicious cultivator. His eyes turned, and the evil aura on his body boiled the moment he smelled it. The puppet of the Vermilion Bird Palace actually sent the practitioners to the Magic Mountain? He is a little puzzled. Having been suppressed in Demon Mountain, we don't know how many reincarnations are. The body collapsed back then, and the last swallowed essence fell into the Temple of Qishan, and the consciousness he had just formed was suppressed in Demon Mountain. He hadn't smelled the cultivator's breath since the ancient times. In the entire Temple of Qishan, apart from the old bacon who guarded the spirit, there were only a group of puppets and indigenous practitioners. Although he has been suppressed, he also knows that the native practitioners of the Temple of Qishan rarely cross boundaries, let alone come to the Magic Mountain. Could it be? The eyes of this existence shrank, and deep in his memory, there was a fragment of memory that came from the body of the year. He also knows one or two secrets of the Qishan Temple, just to screen the inheritors, but after so many reincarnation epochs, he has never seen the inheritors appear. Could it be that the cultivator breath he just smelled is the Qishan Temple the inheritor? However, the number of smells is very large. At least there are tens of thousands of powerful gods. Such a group of gods suddenly appeared in the Demon Mountain, and they must have attempted. Although he was tied to the top of the mountain, the evil aura of his body could condense an avatar, but his avatar could reach the mountainside at most, and then it would collapse. Delicious cultivators, I hope you can enter the mountainside. The evil existence closed its eyes, but there were hundreds of hideous clones appearing outside the body. These clones all have the battle power of the Fifth Order Emperor on the top of the mountain, but the farther they leave the body, the weaker their strength, and their combat power is entirely based on the swallowing origin of the body, although they are the Fifth Order combat power, but there is still a gap between the Fifth Order Emperor, and it can only be regarded as the threshold of the Fifth Order Emperor. The origin alone is comparable to the Fifth Order Emperor, but the Fifth Order Emperor is not only powerful in the origin. Their divine bodies, treasures, secrets, and unique skills can all stack up combat power. Some ordinary Fifth Order Emperors have a top eternal arcana, combat power can be doubled, and directly become the pinnacle Fifth Order Emperor. However, there is only one eternal treasure under the tens of thousands of emperors under the mountain, and he is also a Fourth Order Emperor. When these clones reach the mountainside, they can only maintain the strength of the Tier 4 peak, but they are almost enough to deal with these emperors. It is a pity that the strength of these emperors disappointed this evil existence, and there are probably not many who can reach the mountainside. At the foot of the Magic Mountain, the Ion has been put away, and the Wind and Rain Demon Lord and several other peak emperors revealed their true bodies, walking the creeping path at the foot of the Demon Mountain. The ones who walked in the forefront were naturally those peak powers, followed by the Fourth Order tops such as Zhen Wuyang and Tong Tian Buddha. It's amazing every step I take, I feel that I have practiced for hundreds of millions of years. The immeasurable Buddha in the middle of the team endured the joy in his heart. Since they stepped into the magic mountain, the people in front have stopped talking and walked quietly on the small road. Although the Third Order Emperor in the middle walked very hard, he still clenched his teeth and persisted. The swallowing power invaded their origin, but also in his powerful will, every time they took a step, their origin would be compressed by 1 point. This compression made them very painful and could return to them. This kind of clear and bright perception has increased their perception of Tao more than 10,000 times. One after another aura flashed through their minds, making them feel more deeply about their own way. Lu Crow, who followed closely at the end of the Fourth Order Emperor, had an extremely broad heart at this time. Since being suppressed by the Ion, he secretly made a deal with Fenyu Demon Lord and followed Zhen Weiyang's footsteps to the Ion. After entering the Temple of Qixin, he was naturally released. Since he really stepped inside, he understood how stupid it was to practice in that outer temple. The outer hall where they are located is mixed with countless broken origins. The strongest is probably the Sixth Order Emperor, but it is even more difficult for the broken Tao to become a Sixth Order Emperor than to become the Lord of the Universe. The real overflow of that main hall is to cultivate more Emperors and Dayan Immortals, who want to become the pinnacle powerhouses in the universe, or these treasures in the inner hall. For example, the magic mountain in front of you. Other emperors may not be able to feel it, but he has practiced the devouring Tao, and he can see that the origin of the Tao at the top of the mountain is the devouring origin. It's just that this source is much stronger than that of the subtemple. This Moyin Mountain is simply a dojo for practicing the way of swallowing. Chapter 52:12. It's a pity that he has abandoned the way of devouring and converted to the way of desolation. Moreover, he also controlled the Tao of the great wilderness. Now he can't change the origin at all. He can only walk to the dark one by one. However, he believes that since there is a holy land in the Temple of Qixin that is specially suitable for cultivating the way of swallowing, then there must be a way of practicing desolation holy land. If his thoughts let the true spirit know, he might vomit blood. The magic mountain is tens of thousands of miles high, but this road up the mountain can be seen at a glance, and the distance is only 10,000 battles long. Shrinking the ground into an inch, this kind of supernatural power is very common in the Temple of Qixin, but in their eyes it is a great supernatural power. The distance between the foot of the mountain and the top of the mountain is 10,000 battles, and the distance of the mountainside is 5,000 battles. But now, there are already thousands of Tier 1 emperors who have stopped their bodies. They only walked a distance of about 100 zhang before they could not walk anymore. They could only stay cross-legged and stay in the distance to practice. Although it is only 100 battles away, it is much stronger in cultivation than the outside world, and there is also the origin of the mountain top to be understood. This kind of holy land, the primitive universe does not have it. Even if there is such a place in Hanoi in the long time and space, it will not be possible. These first-tier emperors are practicing here. Although their way has come to an end, but with the blessings of this place, it is not impossible to break and then stand. Taking another step on the original path is a new realm, elevating the 5-rank Tao to the 4th rank level. Although the process is as difficult as He Tao, no one has ever improved in the primitive universe outside, but here not necessarily. Although the Second Order Emperor has gone a lot farther than them, it is still very difficult to improve. The distance of the first 500 battles blocked thousands of emperors. Among the emperors of the primitive universe, half were First Order and Second Order emperors, and half were emperors from 3rd to 4th Order. As for the 5th Order emperors, there have been hundreds of them since ancient times. However, most of them are roaming in the long time and space of Hanoi outside the territory, and there are many 5th Order emperors who were only 4th Order emperors when they went out, and they have never returned to break through to become 5th Order emperors. There are still 10 5th Order emperors in the original universe, and they have either established their own power or left a certain inheritance. Will return from time to time. The other 5th Order emperors never go back, never come back. This time the Temple of Qixin was born, I am afraid that they will all return. The emperor and the strong can observe their hometown world through their origins. Every monarch and powerful person in the original universe has a great connection with the original source, and they can clearly feel the major events in the original universe. This time the Temple of Chishan was born, even if no one notified them, they could still feel the great opportunity of the primitive universe. But it would take millions of years or even hundreds of millions of years to come back. The day lilies will be cold by then. The emperors who have stepped into the Moyne Mountain are desperately improving their strength, so they are still in the mood to take care of those fifth-order emperors. Snapped. The immeasurable Buddha took one step and stayed for a long time, carefully comprehending. Every step made a steady increase in strength. Although every time I stepped out, my feelings became clearer, but after my own strength increased a little, it became more difficult to want to rise again. Already 1,000 feet. Wuliang Buddha raised his head and looked ahead. The fourth-order emperors who were faster than him were the fastest walking powerhouse among the third-order emperors. The current third-order emperor has all gone through 500 battles. He is the first powerhouse among the third-order emperors to take 1,000 battles. The hundreds of powerhouses in front of him are all fourth-order emperors. Now on this road, the fastest walkers are Fengius several peak fourth-order emperors. They have already walked a distance of 3,000 battles, and then they stepped back. Every time they were extremely slow. Those who had more than 2,000 battles were Zhen Weiyang and Tong Tian Buddha, as well as the father of God Emperor Mo Long, and the Taoist ancestor of the Great Dream Realm. They counted people walking at about the same speed, and they had reached a distance of 2,500 battles. On the contrary, Chishui Traveler, as a special being, as the darling of the origin of the universe, walks extremely slowly, having just reached a distance of 2,000 battles, side by side with most Tier 4 top emperors. Boundless Buddha's eyes were squinted, the corners of his mouth were smiling. He turned his head and looked down the mountain, then turned around and sat down cross-legged and began to practice. This scene made the other Tier 3 emperors stunned. Originally, they were surprised that the immeasurable Buddha was so strong and could follow the Tier 4 emperors, but now they have stopped, and it seems that they have reached their limit. They didn't know that immeasurable Buddha had reached the limit. Instead, they deliberately stopped and watched the people down the mountain, instead of enlightening, but stabilizing their minds. Immeasurable Buddha has already seen the beauty of Moyne Mountain. The biggest benefit here is not as simple as cultivation. Stabilizing the mind and tempering the will are second. Their greatest opportunity is to personally experience this magic mountain. Every step they take, they feel a strong pressure, and this pressure naturally comes from the magic mountain. The magic mountain gave them pressure, not to suppress their pace, but to penetrate their origins. He had a hunch that if he set foot on the top of the mountain, he would carry the entire magic mountain on his back. This is great freedom, great opportunity. Carrying up a mountain can be hundreds of millions of times more difficult than climbing a mountain. After the immeasurable Buddha has penetrated this point, he is not at all anxious. According to his calculations, the third-order emperor will be able to walk a distance of 3,000 battles when he is ascended to the extreme. Now, according to his state of mind and origin, he can do it, but for him, this is not enough. He wants to carry this magic sound mountain on his back. If this idea is to let the true spirit know, maybe you have to open another back door to bring this talent into the Temple of Chishan in advance. Call. Old bald donkey, why are you following me all the time? Zhen Weiyang let out a foul breath, looked back at Tong Tian Buddha, annoyed in his heart. This guy has slipped behind him since he got on the Moyne Mountain, has a step slower, and has kept a distance of a battle from him, never surpassing or falling. Good. True martial artist, you and I are adjacent to each other, so naturally we should get closer. Tong Tian Buddha's skin smiled and squinted his eyes, his voice soft, which made him feel sick. But Zhen Weiyang had seen his methods, and obviously didn't take it. This old bald donkey is a master who eats people and does not spit out bones. If you really want to believe his words, you won't know how to die in the end. Looking back at the 6 crows, this is the end of the cooperation with Tong Tian Buddha. If he hadn't said a few good things in the wind and rain, the current 6 crows are really suppressed under the ion. Lu Crow and Dao Gong, who had the upper hand in the great wilderness, only survived now. Don't forget, you and I are in different forces. Are you not afraid that Qi Shui will trouble you? Zhen Weiyang sneered. Tong Tian Buddha didn't care. He followed Zhen Weiyang's footsteps, took another step and said calmly, I don't know the leader of Qi Shui very well. You and I have been neighbors for hundreds of millions of years. Chapter 52:13. Qi Shui Walker, who has been at the bottom of the Fourth Order Emperor, always feels that there is a thorn in his heart, which makes him very uncomfortable. Now even the ordinary Fourth Order Emperors have surpassed him a lot, which made him even more anxious. Obviously he is the darling of the origin of the universe, but now he has fallen so much. Although the Emperor who succeeded in other special life harmony is not as strong as him, he is not too slow to walk. This made him very irritable. The opportunity was right in front of me, and as a result I couldn't live up to it. Damn it, this source of origin actually repels me. Qi Shui cursed secretly after clearing the cause, not that he didn't work hard, but that the source of origin repelled him from the very beginning. What exactly is going on? Qi Shui wondered why he only rejected him. If he rejected the special beings, then the other special beings couldn't go so fast. The special life among the Third Order Emperors is now second only to the immeasurable Buddha and has gone through 900 battles. If converted into strength, it is also a few ranks among the Fourth Order Emperors, why he fell at the end of the Fourth Order Emperors. He is a Fourth Order Emperor of 10,000 times divine body. Even if he rejects this origin, he shouldn't go so slow. Qi Shui, who didn't know the reason, let out a long sigh, and could only stop, and it would be too reluctant to go further, so just accept it when you see it right. Although he could still walk a few more steps while gritting his teeth, the more he went back, the harder he was. While resisting the repulsive force, the training effect was not as good as here. Except for Qi Shui Walker and some weak emperors, the entire team was constantly walking forward. Even some second-order emperors practiced for a while, stood up, and had to break the distance of 500 battles, which made Qi Shui even more uncomfortable. You can only close your eyes and comprehend that road. The deeper the enlightenment, the farther they will go, and the way they walk now is only a temporary one. They didn't know that hundreds of phantoms of Tier 4 emperors had gathered on the mountainside, and they were looking forward to these delicious foods eagerly. At the same time, Dayan Immortal in the primitive world has entered a bottleneck period. The weak and small Dayan Immortals hid in the mountains one after another, and they, who had accepted their fate, would no longer waste their lives to fight for the top 10,000 spots. Today, only tens of thousands of Dayan Immortals are left in the fight. Although the primordial star is not too large, it takes a year to make a circle in diameter. Of course, this is only the speed of the ordinary ninth revolution. If it is the peak power of the ninth revolution, it only takes 1 month to make a circle, and even in desperate circumstances, it can run a circle around the original star in 1 day. But normal patrol hunting, no one would do that. Especially at this time, many strong people on the primordial stars are beginning to retreat, because it is difficult to see Dayan Immortal on the mountains or on the mainland, and the ranking has been completely solidified. When the Qishan Temple assigns personnel, there is still light calculation, and all the 9th turn consummated strong will not be assigned to a primitive star. If they are assigned together, the screening quality of other primitive stars will be reduced. Under Zhu Yi's control, there were only 2 half-step emperors on the strongest primordial star. This was to put a little pressure on the other half-step emperor and let them compete for the first place. On the weak primordial star, there is not even half-step emperor. For example, the primordial star where Jian Wushuang is, there is only Wu Dao King, and there is no half-step emperor. According to the ranking of the Cosmic Gods and Demons list, the top 200 Dayan Immortals of the Earth list are half-step emperors, and the 800 Dayan Immortals of the first 1,000 to 200 are all Taoist powerful. This screening is not only for the first 1,000, but also the need for those originally weak Dayan Immortals to gradually break through in this purgatory. Even if they don't have the strength of the Taoist monarch, they will eventually be selected by the Qishan Temple. This is why the Temple of Qishan will set up special rewards for fighting over tears. What the Qishan Temple wants is not the strongest, but the great master with potential and willpower. Only those who can achieve the combination of these two are regarded as cosmic arrogances. The so-called strongest is nothing more than a half-step emperor, but if you can half-step the emperor, take another step to be comparable to the emperor. Then you will also be favored by Qishan Temple and become one of the candidates. However, this threshold is too difficult. Among the 180 primordial stars, few have this potential. Among the 36 primordial stars in the Eastern Territory, the one that was established as the number 1 seed was only capable of suppressing a half-step emperor and could not match the emperor. The Dayan immortal who can rival the emperor is truly invincible and can fight against the first-order emperor, and there is no enemy under the emperor. This number 1 seed was only temporarily set up by Zhu Yi. This is the first round of trials. Many potential Dayan immortals have not yet grown up. Just like the Hui Qing, true spirit of the original star of Jiajiao was optimistic about him, believing that the Dayan immortal would have great achievements in the future, and even hesitate to change the rules and give a pass to him. This transmission of inheritance caused another turmoil in the original star of Jiajiao, which was still active in an instant. A 9 primordial star feathered the continent. All the powerhouses on the entire continent have gathered outside the barrier where Hui Qing is. The 5 avenues are here, is followed by the first arrogant of the Ji family, Ji Chaoyang, and he is also the only one who can rival the Prince of Dao. His strength is extremely strong and his background is also very strong. He travels the entire Eclosion continent by himself, hunting everywhere. The 7th-ranked demon monk Hui Qing is now in the barrier, and the rest of the top 10 powerhouses are all watching outside, waiting quietly. The many powerhouses ranked behind Hui Qing are still convinced, but the 6 people ranked in front of Hui Qing, but every one of them, they hate their teeth, and they can't wait to enter the enchantment again and cut Hui Qing and accept it by themselves. Inherited. Unfortunately, I can't do it. I can only watch Hui Qing's breath rise step by step. At this time, the emerging continent, unprecedented unity, were waiting outside the barrier. No one did it, and no one dared to do it. The 5 great masters were all waiting here, and they didn't dare to make any trouble. Hui Qing's situation in the enchantment at this time is not as good as those outsiders imagined. On the contrary, his current situation is very bad, and even one mistake will kill Huangquan. This inheritance was bestowed by the true spirit himself, and the preciousness is very precious. But the degree of danger to accept this inheritance is also terrifying. Observing others at this moment, not only the Dayan immortals from the outside world, but also Zhu Yi and Junling are watching this inheritance grafting at the same time. The order Zhu Yi accepted was that as long as Hui Qing finished accepting the inheritance, the first stage of the primordial star trial would be opened and the inheritance hall would be opened. But now it seems that it is very difficult for Hui Qing to accept this complete inheritance, and there is even a crisis of fall. From the appearance alone, she couldn't recognize where this inheritance came from, but looking at the aura contained in it, she could be sure that this was a very powerful Kinoism in ancient times, and she really couldn't tell which aspect it was. Chapter 52:14. The true spirit was watching in the sea of origin, pinching the fleshy beard at the corner of his mouth with one hand, and squinting his small eyes. His face was full of joy. Since he had an independent will, he has had a bad habit, that is, earning money. There are many fixed treasures in the Temple of Qishan, such as the special area like Demon Mountain. There were a lot of scattered treasures on the Demon Mountain back then, but not only was it suppressed array of origin, but the treasures above were all put into its own treasure house by the real spirit. In the Temple of Qishan, there are countless worlds and countless treasure houses. Although most of them are fixed, there are still many scattered treasures and inheritances, all hidden in their own treasure houses by the true spirit. He kneaded his beard, raised the corner of his eye, and a token appeared in his hand. How about it? How many ultimate Dayan immortals have been stunned this time? True Spirit asked without leaving the sky with his eyes fixed on the sky. On the token, an illusory image appeared, and it was one of the spirit guards. My lord, the ultimate Dian immortal in the 16 nearby universes has already been stunned, barely enough to make up 1,000 people. The spirit guard replied with a bow. And yes, Zhen Ling said lightly, but when he thought of something and then said, yes, isn't that stuff also here? Why didn't I see him? The words of the true spirit made the watcher a little confused. If he didn't understand what the true spirit said, he couldn't ask questions, so he could only stare. Just the little thing that survived by fluke, what is it called? He was removed a few days ago, and I almost forgot him. Zhenling rubbed his temples, feeling exhausted. Is your highness Wu Zhuo? The guardian asked with some uncertainty. Yes, it's this little thing. Didn't I say that? Let him also enter the temple of Qixin and follow the group of emperors to get some benefits, so as not to say that I have forgotten my roots, and the old master's bones are not cold, he will remove the only surviving disciple. Zhenling said so, but in his heart he really didn't regard the other person as a person. Opening his mouth is just a small thing. The guardian probably understood what he meant, and quickly said, Master True Spirit, I think Wu Zhuo is extremely disrespectful to the adults. If he didn't behead it, he was giving the old master's face. How could he let such a villain again enter the temple of Qi? When Zhenling saw what he said about the spitting star flying up, his face changed suddenly, and he said slightly angrily, no matter what, he is the master's disciple. Even if he is delisted, he can't be treated differently. You'd better let him come in quickly. I think the development of the 4 secret realms has not been very smooth recently. These ancient relics dared to rebel, and it happened that Wu Zhuo went there to open up Wasteland. The trial of the primitive world did not take long, and the trial of the 4 secret realms in the primitive world ended. The construction must be completed before, at least to open up the cultivation area of Dian Immortal. Zhenling glanced at the bottom of the Sea of Origin. There was the inside of the Temple of Qixin, and it was also the largest world outside of the origin of the sea. This is the world of the gods built by the gods himself. After so many reincarnation epics, a lot of indigenous powerhouses have appeared in the 4 great secret realms. The White Tiger Palace is now somewhat unguarded, and it has become extremely difficult to open up Wasteland. But the strength of His Royal Highness Wu Zhuo. The Spirit Watcher was interrupted by the True Spirit before he finished speaking. The third child, you have to remember that even if Wu Zhuo was expelled, he was once a named disciple of the Great of Misgivings. Don't take it lightly. Let him enter the 4 secret realms. Open up Wasteland, go now, this is an order, do you understand? Yes. The keeper did not dare to say any more, and quickly nodded. He could see that this true spirit had to kill this Wu Zhuo. Back then, Wu Zhuo just fiddled with the old man's beard. Now he has regained power, not only in addition to Wu Zhuo's name, but also for him. To death. Where are the 4 secret realms? There is the core of the Temple of Qixin. Although the Qixin Temple has been operating internally from ancient times to the present, there are puppets from the 4 main halls suppressing various realms. The Suzaku Palace sits in the primordial realm, and the primordial stars that test Dian Immortal are just a small place. The real primordial realm is very huge, much larger than the bloodthirsty continent, and it is dedicated to suppressing some innate gods left over from ancient times. Demon and some evil avenues turned into ideologies. The Xuanwu Hall has the most puppets, and can independently develop puppet techniques. It sits in 108 outer worlds, and all the subtemples are under the management of Xuanwu Hall. The Qixin temple that entered the Desiu area was the Xuanwu temple left there, and those who entered were also allowed by the Xuanwu temple. Even the opening of the Qixin temple had a huge connection with the Xuanwu temple, and the power of the deadly resurrection awakened the sleeping true spirit. The entire temple of Qixin was also like a true spirit, awakened from ancient times, directly opening the highest trial. It is a pity that too many years have passed, and the control of the 4 halls has been weakened a lot. It also controls the metabolism of Xuanwu Temple and controls several big worlds. Like the Qinglong Temple, it can only shrink in the bloodthirsty continent. The top combat power is too small. It can control many big worlds, but those worlds will also give birth to the puppets of the powerful 4 halls. The strongest is only the Palace Master with Tier 6 combat power, and the remaining 6 are Tier 5 combat power. Just a few people simply can't control too much of the world. The Xuanwu Temple is different from the White Tiger Temple. The former creates a large number of puppets to manage the big world for them. Those puppets are very powerful, and even they can create puppets with 4th Order Emperor fighting power. With these puppets suppressing a large world, the development of Xuanwu Temple is very strong, and it is several times stronger than Qinglong Vermilion Bird Temple. However, the Vermilion Bird Palace has guarded the primitive world since ancient times and has never been out. If it were not for this highest trial, their manpower would be enough. On the contrary, the Qinglong Temple is the most unlucky. He has always advocated the integration of all the worlds in the Qishan Temple. In the end, he was beaten and hid in the bloodthirsty continent and did not dare to come out. If it weren't for the indigenous emperors of other great worlds who couldn't cross the chaotic air currents between the worlds, the entire Qishan Temple would have long been messed up. Although the White Tiger Palace of the latter is very powerful, it has collected many indigenous powerhouses, but they are guarding the 4 secret realms, the 4 worlds at the core of the Qishan Temple: heaven, earth, man and God. These 4 secret realms are the 4 major worlds covered by the Qishan origin. Each secret realm is very broad. Although not as big as the bloodthirsty continent, there are many powerful people that can be born. Especially in the secret realm of the heavenly chaotic secret realm, even the 6th Order Emperors have been born. Fortunately, the master of the White Tiger Palace is ruthless. The strong conquer their own use, and the weak will directly kill them. This can stabilize the situation. But that's it. The 4 secret realms often riot. The secret realm of the Tomb of the Gods is a world where the gods sit and turn, where there are 13 guardians of them, and no one dares to guard the Tomb of the Gods. Moreover, most of the special lives born in the secret realm of the Tomb of the Gods are very rare. Chapter 52:15. However, there is no chaotic air current between the 4 great secret realms. The 4 big worlds are connected. In recent years, there have been many strong people who entered the Tomb of the Gods from the other 3 secret realms. Fortunately, their 13 spirit guards have the top strength of the 6th Order. Those people can be suppressed at any time. In order to start the trial, the true spirit immediately called out 8 guardians, and immediately reduced the defensive power of the secret realm of the tomb to the lowest. They were born to guard the tomb of the deity, but the master once explained that everything must obey the true spirit. This makes them dare not defy. Okay, let's go. Don't worry about the Tomb of the Gods, everything is with me. The fleshy beard at the corner of Zenling's mouth fluttered, and the whole body was bathed in the sea of origin, very comfortable. The spirit watcher did not dare to defy on the surface, but his face was dark, and he sighed secretly. The master's bones are not cold, and the true spirit is the only one in the family, regardless of the master's body, only knowing that one person is floating in the sea of origin to enjoy. A ray of the origin of the universe can make thousands of emperors overflow. Here is the sea of origin. Even if a pig sleeps here as a whole, it can sleep as a Dian fairy. Just picking out a strand of origin can make the pig become the sea of origin of the emperor. Every time this old man comes, he hurriedly drove them away, and he couldn't wait any longer. The guardian is suffocated, and he has to say something nice. Thus, the adults are overworked and tired, so the subordinates won't bother. The figure of the spirit guard gradually disappeared in the token. Zhenling squinted his eyes and kept observing Huiqing in the sky, with a smile on his lips. It's a little too close, you have to work hard, little guy. There are no more than 10 practitioners in the entire primitive universe, which is such a privilege. If Jian Wushuang knew that the old man was the one who disliked him the most in the primitive universe, he would probably have to stand up. In the sky, Huiqing sweated, sliding down the smooth forehead. He doesn't know how long it has passed, the golden breath has been surrounding him, but no matter how he does it, he can't subdue it. He was in control of this unique inheritance, but he just couldn't control that breath. Reincarnation. Hui Qing murmured, "This inheritance is reincarnation. He doesn't even know how many reincarnations he has, but he just couldn't succeed. What is the real reincarnation? Now his divine body has been transformed into a reincarnation divine body according to the inheritance of the jerk. The original 100-fold divine body has now increased to 10,000 times the level, but still can't bear that breath. 10,000 times divine body, the peak of special life is only 10,000 times divine body. Today, only Chishui Walker is the existence of 10,000 times divine body among the emperors. There are also several special lives of 10,000 times divine body that have grown up in Dayan Immortal. A Dayan Immortal who is comparable to the ultimate way, has the strength of a half-step emperor. Hui Qing was originally the ultimate way, and now because of the inheritance of reincarnation, the divine body has reached the 10,000-fold level. The two are combined, and he will grow up in the future, which will definitely exceed the special life of those 10,000-fold divine body, and far exceed the ultimate of the same level. Taoist practitioners will truly rival the emperor. This kind of strength and potential is also the reason that Jinling is optimistic. If you really pass this on to other people, they may not be able to bear it, and Hui Qing alone can accept it. Because he is reincarnation, the inheritance of reincarnation is none other than him. There are many inheritances in the Temple of Qishan, but there are few suitable for these practitioners. It is not that the inheritance is not good, but the practitioners are not. Even if it is given to them, they can't accept it by hand-in-hand teaching. The inheritance that Hui Qing has accepted now fits his origin incomparably, and it is extremely difficult, let alone other people. A ripple in the origin made Hui Qing tremble all over. "Ha, little guy, you can't stop me. You were born from a trace of my origin. Now you should welcome your body." With a move in Hui Qing's heart, the memories that were suppressed deep in her heart finally merged together and turned into a red-robed man who touched Hui Qing's appearance. There is a red mark on his eyebrows, a red robe is floating, and even his eyes are red. Hui Qing's eyes suddenly opened. Since he couldn't suppress it and let that memory turn into an independent consciousness, it should have been liquidated, but now it is ahead of schedule. Then completely eliminate the whole scourge. At this time, Hui Qing's inner world showed two selves. One is the red robe Hui Qing whose memory turns into independent consciousness, and the other is the ontology of Hui Qing's own consciousness. The two look at each other far away. Good. Hui Qing sighed with a low eyebrow. Hung Pao Hui Qing snorted coldly, "I am the secret of heaven, and the opportunities are unlimited." Hui Qing knew that group of memories, and he also understood all of his previous lives, but he didn't think about it, and he didn't want to think about it. Give birth to this life, then completely cut off from the previous life. You are not a secret. Hui Qing shook her head. A pair of clear eyes recalled the past, making his complexion greatly changed, and then angrily shouted, "The secret of heaven is dead, he is dead." The celestial body has turned into hundreds of millions and dispersed with the celestial realm back then. You are just an evil thought and dare to claim a secret. Hui Qing changed her long sigh and became extremely domineering. You. Hong Pao Hui Qing was surprised. He didn't expect the other party to know the secret. Before the great wilderness recovered, the memory in Hui Qing's heart was him. And it was also because of him that Hui Qing stepped into the Tao and re-held the Tao of Zen. In his opinion, Hui Qing's consciousness and soul realm should have been a little guy who is not even Yenxian. How can he suddenly become so decisive now? And the more he sees Hui Qing, the more he feels that the other party is the main body, which makes him very shocked. Hui Qing is right. He is indeed not the subject of the secrets of heaven, and he is just a strand of consciousness transformed into the origin. It's just that his luck is not as good as Hui Qing's. He was able to reincarnate successfully, and he awakened after reincarnation for all ages. Although there is a great opportunity in this and his promotion, this is the luck that the emperor said. There are so many opportunities without luck. Little guy, it seems that you know a lot, but don't forget, you have the current strength because of me, so you will be swallowed up obediently. The red robe's voice was cold, and I didn't know how many rebirths. He recovered again. He will not give up, especially when Hui Qing was suppressed before. He knew that as Hui Qing's strength became stronger and stronger, the suppressing power would be greater, and it would be difficult for him to stand up again, but now Hui Qing accepts the inheritance. Is not suppressing him, then this time will be his last chance. I said, I am not a secret. The secret is dead. Since you presumptuously claim the secret, then go to die too. Hui Qing's eyes were cold, and as soon as her voice fell, the two of them fought like heavens and humans, but their unmoving consciousness turned into swords and spears, and the fierce fighting was no weaker than the outside world. Chapter 52:16. You are me, I am you. The secret of heaven will also be the secret of heaven. Reincarnation cannot be changed for many lifetimes. Hong Pao Hui Qing roared. Although crazy, his will was gradually swallowed and has fallen into a disadvantage. Hui Qing didn't talk nonsense, sitting cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes, and the law bodies of this life suddenly appeared behind him. Hong Pao Hui Qing claimed to be a heavenly secret. His Dharma body was the same as before. A Taoist priest with a high crown and bright eyes, carrying a mahogany sword on his back, has a majestic face with Chinese characters, and his facial features are sharp. Hui Qing sat cross-legged on the ground, not looking or willing to look, but at this time he had to face the past life when he was fighting. Destroy it to me. I am the ontology. Red Robe Hui Qing Commander Tianji Taoist drew out the mahogany sword and slashed towards Hui Qing. The figure behind Hui Qing's body, carrying the brown long stick, jumped up. The two laws of heaven and earth fought together in an instant, and the world of the heart was trembling. Hong Pao Hui Qing gritted his teeth, desperately blessing the image of the heavenly Taoist. Tianji, you can remember the promises you once made. Hui Qing's face shouted loudly. This angry shout made the heavenly Jis Faxiang stunned for a while, but made the red robe Hui Qing, who had been issued to stand up anxiously and hurriedly shouted, I am the main body, go and devour him, calm. Hong Pao Hui Qing didn't listen to the facial features summoned by Hui Qing, which made him completely dumbfounded. His previous lives' harmony of heaven's opportunity failed and fell, but at that time he was not sure about his harmony, and it was precisely that his death was suicide. Now that he has been reincarnated successfully, and the memories of his previous life have recovered, why not swallow Hui Qing and return to the top to join the Tao again? Hong Pao Hui Qing was very puzzled. What is it for? Hong Pao Hui Qing roared. At this time, the heavenly Ji Faxiang above looked back at Hong Pao Hui Qing. What was revealed in his eyes was no longer the harshness, but rather gentle. Promise. What surprised Hong Pao Hui Qing even more was that Faxiang was able to speak. Hui Qing smiled faintly. Yes, the previous promise, the promise to the matchmaker. Do you still remember? Tianji Faxiang turned his head back and looked at Hui Qing's Faxiang again. His eyes became sharp again. I never forgot. Tianji replied heavily. Hui Qing nodded, and finally sighed. When that memory turned into consciousness, he completely faced his past and present life, and the memory of heaven's mystery was completely integrated with him in this life. 30 million years of practice has made people understand the original mind. Even if the past lives are mixed with this life, he still distinguishes them clearly. The Tianji Taoist in the previous life was very powerful. He was a powerful man who rivaled the emperor with the body of a mortal, and was the strongest Dayan immortal in the Eastern Yen realm and even the countless worlds around him. At that time, he was amazing, talented, and passionate, and even defeated the First Order Emperor with his own hands. Dayan Xian defeated the emperor. This is like a legend in the primitive universe. The realm of Dayan Xian and emperor is like the division of heaven and earth. But such a shocking Dayan, but in the end, he was unsure and suddenly joined the Tao, which is tantamount to suicide. All this is a mystery. When he fell, the whole person didn't care even more. The origin collapsed directly and he didn't want to survive. All this is because of his Taoist companion, matchmaker. Hui Qing also understood why she was reluctant to accept the memory and face the past life. It turns out that he has never changed anything, and he has never forgotten what he tried to forget. He has always been him. Matchmaker is the pain of Tianji's life. Both Huiqing and Tianji's facial features were red at this moment. Back in time and space, the heavens before countless epochs. Somewhere in the endless continent, there is a mundane dynasty, Yu Kingdom. Among the mountains in the territory of Vietnam, there is a very famous valley called the Valley of Wangxing. There is still such a legend in the local area that as long as you worship the Buddha devoutly in the Valley of Death, you will recall memories of previous lives. Because of this legend, the temples in the valley keep burning incense for many years. In addition to believers who want to know the memories of previous lives, there are also many believers who keep their peace, pray for children, ask for money, eliminate disasters, and relieve difficulties. These people don't know that there is a Taoist temple on the mountain behind the temple, where the Taoist priests are the real gods, but because of that legend, no one pays attention to the dilapidated Taoist temple, only the temple in the valley. One autumn, there was a flood outside the mountain, which swallowed up the rush-harvested wheat fields and some small villages. More people came to the temple to worship Buddha, more than usual. The young Taoist priests in the Taoist temple on the top of the mountain do not understand that these people are almost out of food, so why should they spend money to worship Buddha? The old Taoist priest of the Taoist temple shook his head and said, "The secret of heaven must not be revealed." The little Taoist priest did not understand, and planned to go down the mountain to see the temple that made people dream of, so he lied to the mountain and asked for some rice. The old Taoist saw at a glance that the little Taoist was lying, but he didn't stop him. He just looked at the back of the little Taoist and shook his head repeatedly, and sighed, "I still can't keep it, commit evil." The little Taoist went all the way down the mountain. He was an orphan. He lived with the old Taoists on the mountain since he was a child. He was familiar with everything on the mountain, but he didn't know anything about the temple. Today, he wants to see what mystery is inside. www. Novel. Calm will make so many worship. He descended the mountain along the intestinal path, his steps were light, and he was able to take a long battle at every step. His figure was very stable. If he was seen by others, he would be shocked. This is simply a light feat in martial arts. However, he and his master have walked this path so far. Outside the temple at this time, there were busy traffic, there were sedan chairs of the landlord's house, and the wooden horse and ox cart of ordinary tenants. They were all frowning before entering the temple, but after entering the temple they were happy and smiling, especially after going in and worshipping the Buddha. The way he walked out swept away the decadence of the past and replaced it with a face full of scenery. The appearance. After seeing this scene, the little Taoist became even more curious. However, he appeared at the entrance of the temple in the form of a Taoist priest, which caused many people to give pointers, and even whispered loudly that even Taoists would worship Buddha. The little Tao was impatient and wanted to argue, but when he thought of the purpose of coming this time, he ignored him and left the main entrance of the temple in a detour. He didn't want to be pointed by those people, so he planned to climb the wall and enter the temple to find out. Go and see this temple, what's so good about it? After bypassing the busy main entrance, he came to a remote wall and looked around. At this time, he was also frustrated, afraid of being seen. If the master saw him over the wall and enter the temple, he was afraid of the master. Was off. The courtyard wall at the front entrance is tall and stylish, but the side wall that no one can see is very dilapidated. It is just a wall surrounded by green bricks and green tiles. It is very dilapidated and not as good as a Taoist wall. The pilgrims think this is the compassion of the monks, leaving the best to the respected Buddha, but they themselves live in a dilapidated courtyard. Chapter 52:17. The little Taoist stepped back a few steps, then his steps were clean, his body was as light as a swallow, he jumped up, he was 7 or 8 feet tall, and he was ready to climb over the wall with a single touch. If the tiles above were not stable, his hand slipped. Almost fell. Fortunately, he was good enough with his body style, and only one touch of the palm of his hand resolved the crisis, and he fell into the temple steadily. He fixed his eyes and scanned the surroundings, only to find that this was a vegetable garden, with a row of cucumbers planted in front of him. The cucumber vines were all framed by bamboo poles, standing high just to block his figure. The little Taoist breathed a sigh of relief. When he calmed down, he swallowed when he saw the fresh cucumbers slipping on the bamboo poles. He has not eaten any serious vegetables from the snacks of whole grains. There is also a vegetable garden in Taoist temple, but the whole white radish grown in it is also slightly sweet when eaten raw, but every time he eats it, his chest is hot and painful. Those white radishes will eventually be made into pickles and placed in a big pot in the kitchen. The big stick of dried radishes is what he and his master usually eat. It was the first time he saw a large green vegetable garden in front of him. The saliva from the corner of his mouth almost came out, and he unconsciously stretched his hand to a jade cucumber. But before his hand touched the cucumber, a small stone hit the back of his hand accurately. The little Taoist quickly put away the hand he had just stretched out. Regardless of the tingling on the back of his hand, he hurriedly glanced around, trying to find the person who hit him with the stone. "Hey, here I am." A naughty voice came from behind him. Looking up, a little girl in red linen sitting on the dilapidated wall was looking at him with a smile. That smile made the little Taoist stay in place and dare not move. "What do you look at? Look carefully at this girl who dug your double son." The little girl in red put a smile on her face, revealing a vicious look. The little Taoist was really frightened and sat down on the ground. Seeing the little Taoist who was startled by her, the girl in red couldn't hold her face anymore and smiled. She jumped off the wall and walked slowly to the little Taoist priest. When she pinched her waist and smiled, her eyes looked like a crescent moon. "What is your name?" "Li Yushan." One question and one answer make the two of them acquainted. From the young Taoist priest, Li Yushan learned that she was from the temple and that this vegetable garden belonged to her. After seeing him, the girl in red seemed to have something to say. It was originally to inquire about the secrets of the temple, but Li Yushan didn't know what to do. It seemed that he had forgotten his purpose and talked with the girl in red for a long time. This time meeting is like a destiny. Li Yushan didn't think that he should go until it got darker. He just wanted to leave. He always wanted to ask the other person what his name was, but after talking for so long, he still didn't dare to ask. Said it was a chat between the two, but the girl in red was actually talking about it. He nodded or said something about Taoism, but whenever he said about things, the girl in red would stare at her eyes, a pair of crescent-shaped eyes. The eyes turned into stars, very yearning. "Oh, it would be great if I was in your master's Taoist temple. I could go out to play every day. My father never let me leave this vegetable garden, and forbid other people to play with me. I'm going to die of boredom." Looking at the sad girl in red, Li Yushan didn't know how to comfort him. After holding back for a long time, he finally said, "Then can I come and play with you in the future?" The red-clothed girl's eyes turned into crescent shapes again, nodded vigorously, and said excitedly, "Of course." Little Taoist Li Yushan lowered his head and blushed a little. When he left, the girl in red picked 2 cucumbers for him. "You and your master each have one. Remember to come and play with me." The girl gave Li Yushan 2 fresh cucumbers carelessly. This is a teenager. At this time, after seeing the cucumber, he swallowed again. The words he just wanted to say were swallowed back. Finally, he nodded and planned to ask again next time, but when he just turned his head and was about to leave, when the girl stopped him. "By the way, Li Yushan." The girl in red stopped the little Taoist and said dejectedly, "I don't have a name, but you can call me a matchmaker in the future." After speaking, he turned and left. Looking at the disappearing back, Li Yushan smiled. After returning to the Taoist temple, the little Taoist priest gave both cucumbers to the master. "Master!" The old Taoist stared at Li Yushan and shook his head. "I'm not hungry, take it out." Li Yushan smiled and took the cucumber and returned to his house. In the following days, he would go to the vegetable garden of the temple every few days to find a matchmaker. The two of them gradually became dissatisfied to chat and catch butterflies. From Li Yushan's mouth, she knew the prosperous town under the mountain, the beautiful scenery of the back mountain valley. She is very yearning for these places, but unfortunately she has never had the opportunity to go. Until one day, Li Yushan came up with a note. The snow was heavy, and the two built a snowman, and then the matchmaker put her coat on the snowman, stepped on the shoulder of the little Taoist, and stepped out of the courtyard wall. The two walked around the mountain road, walked the back mountain path, played all the way, saw the snow scene in the valley, and went down the mountain to the small town. Looking at the crystal-clear candy gourd, both of them swallowed their saliva. Seeing the matchmaker's greedy look, the little Taoist priest secretly vowed that he would make money to buy sugar-candied haws for the matchmaker in the future. After taking the matchmaker to see the new stuff on the market, the two of them were lucky enough to leave. Li Yushan remembered everything that the matchmaker was interested in. When he met the matchmaker, he moved Fan Xin. At this time, they went down the mountain together and became seductive. After sending the matchmaker back, Li Yushan stepped on the thick snow and returned to Taoist temple step by step. He lost his soul all the way, but he didn't notice many footprints in the snow. When he returned to the Taoist temple, he discovered that the originally dilapidated Taoist temple was now even more broken. The wooden door was smashed, the only square table in the yard was turned into two halves, and the only container in the kitchen containing dried radishes was also smashed. Not knowing why, the little Taoist rushed into the house and shouted, "Master! Yushan!" The old Taoist priests, full of bags on their foreheads, sitting cross-legged on the futon, stopped the young Taoist in a hurry. "Master, what's the matter with you?" Li Yushan hurriedly stepped forward to help the old Taoist priest who wanted to get up. "It's okay, you don't need to help me, you just need to tell me now, do you plan to stay here, or follow me to leave here?" The old Taoist stared at the little Taoist, and the two were in a stalemate here. Li Yushan's eyes were avoiding, and his figure stepped back and lowered his head. For a while, he didn't know how to answer. He never thought that the master would take him away, nor did he want to leave here and leave the Valley of Death. Chapter 52:18. Looking at the hesitant Li Yushan, the old Taoist had an answer in his heart, and smiled lightly. "It seems that our fate is here, and it's time for me to leave, but you remember, you are my third life disciple, always will be." As soon as the voice fell, the old Taoist priest turned into a puff of blue smoke, floating out of the house, disappearing without a trace. Li Yushan was shocked when he saw this scene. He didn't expect the master who raised him to grow up turned out to be a god. When the old Taoist left, a piece of jade pendant and a letter were left on the futon. Li Yushan held the letter in one hand and the jade pendant in the other. He stood by the threshold and looked outside the house. He couldn't calm down for a long time. Until the sky was completely dim and he couldn't see the outside world, he went back to his room dejectedly. In the following days, he did not go to the matchmaker, because he learned from the mountain that his master was beaten away by the monk of the temple. Although he knew in his heart that his master was a god, he was not beaten away at all, it was just right. He was disappointed. Li Yushan was very sad. After the master was away, he could only cook firewood by himself every day, and sat on the threshold alone in a daze. When he was in a daze, he thought of the matchmaker's body world. The matchmaker's father was a fat monk from the temple, and her mother was a pilgrim. After giving birth to her, she committed suicide by throwing herself into a well. The first time he heard the matchmaker, he was not sad, but very envious of the matchmaker. At least he knew his life experience. Li Yushan has followed his master since he was a child, and is very unfamiliar with his parents. After staying alone on the mountain for a month, Li Yushan was a little uncomfortable and wanted to go to the temple down the mountain to find a matchmaker. But I didn't expect the matchmaker to come to the mountain to find him this time. Meet the two. Be silent. The matchmaker lost the innocent smile on her face. She became very silent, her face turned sallow, and there were strangle marks on her neck. When the little Taoist saw it, he was very sad, thinking that it was the matchmaker he was injuring, and hurriedly went to get the herbal medicine prepared by the master. "Li Yushan, I am going to marry," the matchmaker said with a trembling voice with tears in her eyes. The medicine box that was just taken out fell, and the little Taoist priest was a little confused. Just standing blankly like that when the master left, he still didn't know how to stay. After taking a look, the matchmaker wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, sucked her nose, and turned her small face aside, not to see the little Taoist priest. The last time he leaked a smile, he smiled with a mischievous voice. Then I'm leaving, and I remember to go to the mountain for a wedding wine on the 15th of next month. After saying this, the matchmaker turned and left. The little Taoist stood by the threshold again, trying to open his mouth, but his throat was like a stone in his throat, like a stone blocking his mouth. He couldn't open his mouth no matter what. Just standing there, the back of Jidao matchmaker disappeared from his field of vision. I don't know how many times I looked back, but I couldn't change the figure of the young man in blue shirt. I had imagined it countless times, but the reality never happened. 28 Fangling, it is the time for girls to bloom. The fat monk in Wangsheng Temple is planning a big deal. What do you do for food? The host of the Xiangsheng Temple, the matchmaker's father, threw the Buddhist scriptures in his hands on the face of the visitor angrily. Several monks bowed their heads and dared not refute. In the lobby of the temple, a large Buddha is decorated extremely dignified. Although it is a mud figure, the eyes are decorated very kindly. Every pilgrim will feel refreshed when he sees the Buddha statue, as if bathing in the spring breeze. But at this time, the mud statue became extremely coercive, staring at the fat monk and several monk heads below. This statue of Buddha is the sitting position of the infinite Buddha. At that time, the immeasurable Buddha had just enlightened and was competing for the position of chief. In the monasteries of the mortal world, most of the temples of the two are enshrined. It is the immeasurable Buddha who worships in this Wangsheng temple. In front of the immeasurable Buddha statue, the fat monk leaked an evil face. The money for the incense that Wang Yuanwei promised has been sent here. No matter what happens to the 15th wedding next month, there must be no change, okay? But 2,000 used to big money, how can there be so much? The fat monk frowned and snorted coldly. He couldn't manage that much, so after ordering to go down, he went to the backyard. Second brother, you can count it, you almost exhausted me this month. As soon as the voice fell in the dark backyard, a person who looked exactly like the fat monk walked out. The fat monk who just came out of the front yard had a cold face. Old third. The two entered the dark backyard together, which formed a sharp contrast with the brightly lit front yard. Inside the Taoist temple on the mountain, it was dim both front and back. Inside the little Taoist house, a dim yellow kerosene lamp wandered and restlessly, just like the little Taoist's mood now. Since the matchmaker left, the little Taoist priest can no longer hold his own mood. Putting on his coat again, wearing cloth shoes made of 1,000 needles and sharp blades, he came to the Taoist temple in front of the Tianzhongxiang, sat cross-legged on the futon, and recited the meditation mantra. But no matter how many times he meditated the meditation mantra, he couldn't calm his mind. Even in front of Tianzhongxiang, he had imagined that he was a monk so that he could enter Wangsheng Temple and see the matchmaker every day. Somewhat ignorant of him, also fantasizes about being a monk and marrying a wife. Snapped. Unconsciously, the little Taoist shed a tear. Falling on the bluestone slab made a clear sound, causing ripples in his heart. A month passed in a blink of an eye. Spring is coming and autumn is coming. On this day, the snow has melted and everything is born. The little Taoist woke up early, unintentionally ate dinner, sat quietly on the futon, looking outside the house, with his back leaning against the heavenly king. Painting the ground is a prison, but so. He hasn't taken a half step for a month, his heart is outside, but his body is trapped in this broken Taoist temple. Li Yushan didn't know why, and slowly got up and walked to the threshold, staring blankly at the sheep intestine path outside, where it leads directly to the Xingxi temple. 3 rods in the sun, he heard the sound of firecrackers faintly, and Li Yushan, who often went to the small town below the mountain, knew that the matchmaker would leave when the wedding party arrived, and it would be difficult to see each other again in his lifetime. Looking back on the various scenes in the past, Li Yushan's eyes were no longer dull, but tough. At this moment he has a choice in his heart. As his master said, he has the answer already in his heart. This answer should have been told to the matchmaker a month ago. He regretted it, but fortunately, it is not too late. He is going to the Xingxi temple, looking for a matchmaker, and then telling her the promise in his heart. Li Yushan stepped out of the house and left the Taoist temple. He gradually moved faster down the road. He was afraid and regretted it. I was afraid I would never see the matchmaker again, regretting the indecision at that time. Li Yushan, who was running wildly, tore off his Taoist robe, just like the falling snow between the heavens and the earth, revealing the original appearance. In Wangsheng Temple, today is the day of rejoicing outside the king. Married to an orphan, and the host of Wangsheng Temple personally matched it. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.